From the hot air balloon capital of the world, this is Balloon Fiesta Live. The 47th edition of the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta, presented by Canon, is happening now in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And now, live direct from the rooftop studio at Balloon Fiesta Park, here are Glen Moyer and Lloyd Jr.
And good morning and welcome, everyone, from Albuquerque, New Mexico, at the 47th edition of the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta, presented by Canon. I am Glen Moyer, and my colleague and co-host Lloyd Jr. is unfortunately a bit under the weather. He is not with us this morning, so this is not Lloyd Jr.
Obviously.
As you can see, we've given one of our field reporters, Kim Vesley, a battlefield commission, as it were, and she'll be joining me here on the rooftop studio this morning. And of course, we'll still have Ruth Lynn down on the field bringing us field reports out today. So welcome to the studio.
Welcome. I'm obviously not Lloyd Jr. He is better looking.
Well, I don't know about that.
But glad to be here this morning.
Well, it's good to have you with us. And of course, you and I have done this before about 5 years ago when we were making the transition, when the longtime original voice of Balloon Fiesta, Tom Rutherford, had to retire. Then we were curious about, okay, where are we going to go forward? And so we had a number of people who sort of tried out with on-the-job training, and you were one of those who did, and that's why you're a part of our broadcast team. So welcome back up to the roof. Good to have you here.
Well, it's good to be back.
We're going to have some fun today. Today is an outstanding day. It is the beginning of special shapes for us. So this morning's launch direction, just so you'll know, is we'll be putting all of the special shapes will be launching or inflating and staying static here on the field. Some of them, it's their option. Once we have that done and the Fiesta flyers are away, then it's another day of competition. We continue with that. But from the spectator standpoint, today is a special day because it is Kids Day, sponsored by KOB TV, Channel 4, where I understand you used to do a little bit of work.
I was with KOB for 8.5 years,
My
approximately.
Goodness.
Yeah. From 1974 to 1983. We were still shooting film when I started there.
Well, I'd go back to those days as well.
So now I'm dating myself.
Well,
but,
yeah. Art and I tend to do a lot of that up here. Yeah.
But we're very glad to have KOB as the sponsor of this event, and it's going to be a great day for the kids on the field. And not only do they get to go around and see all the special shapes and collect those balloon cards, but they can get lots of
They get a goodie bag,
free
and
stuff.
If you guys can come back to us up here on the set, we're going to give you a look at all the things that the kids are going to be receiving. There is the nice goodie bag, which is provided by Phillips 66. General Mills is also, we have a number of our corporate sponsors that are participating. So, Kim, why don't you just go through quickly and let's show folks what all the kids will be getting today.
Well, nobody told me that being Vanna White was part of this job.
Oh, yeah.
But,
Well,
but here we go. They got this.
They get a pinwheel, it looks
They got
like,
a pinwheel
that we managed to break.
There we go. No, there we go.
Okay, so there's a pin, and that's from Phillips 66.
Okay. And this is from Wells Fargo, and it is a coloring book.
Ooh.
Okay, and then we have a creative pack from Canon. And we'll explain this in a minute here.
Yeah.
We have Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
That's mine. I like that cereal.
We have
Cookies.
We have cards.
Or was that an O?
That was an
or
ooh.
Okay, I got off track.
We have a Steve Stucker card.
Yeah.
We have, let's see. We have
more
snacks.
More snacks. And those are from Bimbo, by the way, Bimbo Bakeries.
Yeah, one of our major sponsors.
Yep.
Here's something from another one of our sponsors, Creamland
Dairy. That's the milk for the cereal. Ooh.
I will take that.
Okay.
You can have the cereal. I'll take the milk. We have a spoon. Look, there's something else down here.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. A free kids
meal at Wendy's. Ooh.
Yeah.
So we got all kinds of great stuff here. And if this were Pilot's Briefing,
yeah, we would say and
tequila. but it's Kids Day, so we're not. So we
no, the kids don't get any tequila, but we do that at. We honor a Pilot of the Day each day, and they get a variety of gifts, a goodie bag, and it includes some tequila. For after-flight ceremonies, of course. So our thanks to KOB TV and to Phillips 66 and General Mills, Bimbo, all of the sponsors that have participated in providing goodies for our kids for Kids Day today. So you're going to see a lot of young folks out there on the field this morning. We are on schedule to launch this morning on time, which is something we really haven't done a lot of this week so far. We've been dealing with some weather issues, but this morning, all things considered, looks very good.
Looks like we have a box even this morning.
It does. You and I were both looking at the wind profiler earlier and watching the Dawn Patrol balloons as they went away. Looks like we will have a box. Wells Fargo will be our balloon of the day, and I believe, though it's still a bit dark looking over toward the stage, that is the Wells Fargo, one of their round balloons, already standing up. And so we are on schedule for the national anthem.
And boy, do we have a very special group doing the national anthem today, right?
We do indeed. Do you have the name? I do, but it's taking up half my legal pad to write it down.
You have it because it took half your legal pad to write it down.
It did, yeah. So this morning, performing our national anthem in just about 10 minutes from now will be the New Mexico Philharmonic Young Musicians Initiative. Say that 5 times fast. No, thank you. And so, yeah, and I understand it's quite a large group. They said there's like about 50 of these young people that are on stage and will be performing our national anthem for us. On the live feed, you can see things already well underway with inflations. We not only have the balloon of the day standing up, but obviously our Rainbow Rider balloons, our ride concessionaire from here in Albuquerque, Scotty Appleman, their balloons, there you see them, all lined up, I believe, along row P. Is that correct?
The ride balloons, I think, are now on M.
On M,
on about
okay.
M. You're starting to see a lot of these balloons inflate. One of the things that will happen, we've got, if you want an event where you have absolutely everything we do, the shape event is that, because you have the special shapes who either fly or go static, like Glen said. You have the non-competing so-called regular or regular round balloons that fly out of here.
Our Fiesta flyers.
Fiesta flyers are different. There are different names for that. And then once they go away, the field is roped off, and then the competition flyers launch a mile away from the field, and then they fly in and try to hit targets on the field, and that is a great thing to watch too. So we got a little bit of something for everybody this morning.
It's kind of like all 9 days of Fiesta crunched into about 3 hours of excitement this morning, as Kim says, because we'll have a little bit of everything, a little something for everybody today. And of course, throughout the morning, we do have our intrepid reporter Ruth Lind on the field, and she'll be bringing us interviews from guests, from Fiesta officials, and goodness knows who might show up on her camera this morning. So we'll be keeping in touch with Ruth throughout the day. I could see just near the sponsors tower, not sponsors, the officials tower here at our end of the south end of the location. South end of the field. The Intel balloon is already beginning to inflate, and that, of course, is Sean Askren, who is cold inflating his balloon. We can really now begin to see the row of. There's a good shot of the Intel balloon. It looks awfully bright on the cameras, our monitors. Trust me, it's not that light out here this morning.
It is
it's
actually
dark.
still quite dark.
It is. It's amazing to see the luminance of our great cameras, because trust me, folks, it is not that bright just yet. I'm barely able to see the shape of the Intel balloon, so that's quite amazing.
Yeah. Over the top, right over the top of the Intel balloon, you can see a little dot there, a couple little dots, and those are some of the Dawn Patrol that took off earlier this morning. And the pilots, if you're a pilot down there at pilot briefing, you love watching the Dawn Patrol because it's your first really good indication of what the winds are doing. And they're going to like what they see this morning because they can take off and go south and then come up and go north. And it looks like they may be headed out towards Corrales, Rio Rancho this morning.
Yeah. And it is going to be, we heard the officials talking earlier on the radios, it is going to be a south to north launch this morning, meaning they'll begin with the balloons on the southern end of the field, which is our end of the field down near Corporate Row, where all the corporate hospitality tents are. We'll start this end and work our way then to the north, which is the far end. Just that view you just had on screen, that was looking basically south to north, and so that's the direction we'll be launching in this morning. And the launch directors will also be encouraging the pilots to get up and get out, because we're hoping to clear the field whether it be Fiesta flyers, which are the round balloons basically that are not participating in competition, or the special shapes. Our hope is to clear the field by 7:45 so we can then move the crowd, do the flagging, get the targets laid out, and have the field open for competition to begin about 8 a.m. this morning.
The balloons you see out here, this whole big long row, the balloons that look yellow on the top, are Rainbow Riders. They are our ride balloons for people that come out and pay for rides here, and Rainbow Rider is the official contract. Many of these balloons are larger than the hot air balloons that those of us that fly for sport fly. They're designed to carry additional passengers, so they're able to take, how many people do they take up a day? Do you know?
You know, I don't know what the total number is. We should ask Scotty about that. But individual balloons, there are varying sizes, but they can carry where our sport balloons that you and I fly as sport pilots will carry typically a pilot and maybe two or three passengers.
Maybe two.
These guys have baskets that I always kind of liken it to putting a Volkswagen minibus underneath a balloon and flying it, because they can carry 8, 10, 12, 14 passengers in some cases. And you'll notice that once they begin to launch. You'll see the larger sized baskets. But that's a good question. I don't know that we've ever known that in terms of on a given day how many passengers actually go aloft with Rainbow Riders. We'll have to find out about that.
And those baskets are all compartmentalized. They're actually quite comfortable for the people that ride in them. They're well protected, and it's set up so that they all have a great view. And it's really a wonderful experience to go do that if you ever get the chance to partake of that.
Well, and nowadays passenger baskets have come a long way, because we even, not only are they partitioned and cushioned, we actually have some baskets that have doors so that passengers can walk into them. We have handicapped accessible baskets that we didn't have just a very few years ago. So the basket technology coming a long way in recent years, and you can see a lot of that because many of the manufacturers are here on site. Those of you that are visiting here at Balloon Fiesta can see that by visiting their booths after flying this morning and get a look at some of this new technology that we have.
Yeah, those are down towards the south end of the field, and people, you know, they show all their latest and greatest toys. And you and Art were talking yesterday, and I didn't hear the whole thing about the guy that has the one with the propeller on it.
Yeah, it's a new system that's being debuted here at Balloon Fiesta this year. It's a light sport aircraft, which is a different category of pilot's license in the United States. And it's actually a collapsible basket, and he has a little ultralight engine and propeller on a folding frame that you can, once the balloon is inflated and launched normally, you can then pull up into position and literally fire up the engine and crank up the propeller, and it allegedly provides some directional propulsion. And the engine, the propeller, is actually on a gimbal so that you can move it slightly side to side. I'm going to visit with him at some point this week, but it's an interesting new little aircraft and a new take on ballooning. We'll be curious to see how that goes over here this weekend.
So the idea is if you're over a tree and you can't get off of the tree, right, you can crank up the propeller and it'll move you just enough to be able to get over to that nice field.
Well, it would be curious to see if they'll allow them in competition, because in theory you could steer your way toward the target easier than you can traditionally just using wind direction. So it opens up a whole new element to the sport, and I'm curious to see and hear what pilots' reactions to this new aircraft are. By the way, we're just a little less than 2 minutes away from the balloon of the day and the national anthem now.
I would think if there's not a rule against that in the competition rules,
there probably will be. Yes. Although I can recall in the day when GPSs were not allowed, and you could not use turning vents because they felt that would give you an advantage in competition. And of course nowadays those rules have been amended, and we now travel with we fly with moving maps and computers and all sorts of electronics if you're flying in national and world competition.
We are all watching for the balloon of the day to take off. This is the first balloon that launches every morning. This morning it is Wells Fargo, and they will be carrying aloft the American flag. The first day of Fiesta, I got to be in the balloon that took the flag up, and I had never done that, and it was so.
Oh, that's right.
It was so cool. Because you take off and everybody cheers.
Yeah.
And there's always they usually have children standing around holding the flag off the ground as the balloon takes off, and it's just a gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous sight.
am.
Okay.
And we're standing by for the national anthem here in just a couple of minutes. I think Glen is busy talking to the balloon meister, Sam Parks, as they coordinate the timing for that.
If you guys can crank up the volume on the anthem, everybody would appreciate it.
And here we go.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, balloon of the day and our national anthem. Gary, I don't know if you guys copied that. If there's any way to... Okay. Okay.
Where's Ruth?
And there, ladies and gentlemen, the New Mexico Philharmonic Young Musicians Initiative. And Wells Fargo, our balloon of the day with the national anthem. So we are off to a flying start. It is Kids Day at the 47th Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta, and it is also Special Shapes Rodeo Day. It's competition day. My goodness, we're going to be busy, Kim.
Yeah, we're going to have our hands full, I think. And it's a beautiful morning out here. There's a little bit of an overcast, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because it sometimes helps to keep the air more stable. You don't get the ground heating that we sometimes get.
Yeah, and it will also kind of keep the temperatures under control. So we do. So I see a little bit of virga falling out of a couple of the clouds up over the Sandias this morning. But again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Actually, a little bit of it falling out of some of the clouds just as I look higher above where some of the Dawn Patrol balloons are. But overall, yeah, it's actually one of the prettier mornings we've had, other than opening day, which was just typical Chamber of Commerce perfect weather. We have had some days where we've been dealing with some wind, we've been dealing with some cloud, all of course associated with the tropical storm, and of course now we have the hurricane over on the East Coast. So very, very active weather situation. We're not dealing with the hurricane, of course, here, but the tropical storm did create and will bring some more rain into New Mexico, the southern part of New Mexico, later this week. You can also just see, if we look over toward the Sandias, just see the bottoms of the clouds taking on that little kind of cotton candy pink hue to them, and that's a sign that the sun is on its way up. So, yes, indeed, going to be a great morning.
Gorgeous. And the Rainbow Riders balloons all up in a row there, getting ready to take off, I would think pretty quickly now.
I would think so. You can see they all have that yellow with the rainbow diamond pattern to it. Now, a few of them won't because, quite frankly, as large as the fleet of balloons that Rainbow Riders has, they can't accommodate all the demand for balloon rides during Balloon Fiesta with just their balloons. So they actually contract other professional ride balloon pilots from around the country to come into Albuquerque and work the 9 days of Balloon Fiesta flying, paying passengers here. They do have a booth if you're on site that is along row P on the street that's just behind our Main Street concessions, and you can check there to see if they have flight availabilities. I think they were near sold out very early on, but you always have cancellations and no-shows and that sort of thing. And if you're online, you can obviously look for their website, rainbowriders.com, and you can check out and see if there are flight availabilities if you're going to be in the Albuquerque area. Now, of course, they operate year-round, too, so even if you're not here during Balloon Fiesta, anytime you're visiting Albuquerque and might want to see the city from up in the sky, that's a great way to do it with Rainbow Riders.
And we are flying. We have balloons
We
taking
are.
off right in front of us here.
As we said, they'd be launching south to north. South is just right in front of our rooftop studio. And so the first few balloons are getting airborne. There is Sean Askren getting up and away in the Intel balloon, white with those building blocks of red, yellow, and blue around the balloon. And there, of course, is that great row as you look at the feed, our live stream, that big row of Rainbow Rider balloons, and they too are just getting airborne. There's the Intel balloon. Sean Askren on camera this morning. Our video feed, of course, available on balloonfiesta.com. It's also available on the Balloon Fiesta YouTube channel and the Facebook page where you can comment and interact with us. We'll check in there occasionally during the morning. I see my iPhone is already locked up, so I'm going to have to probably restart the feed there. But
and the first of the Rainbow Riders balloons are now taking off. They do try to get those balloons out early and clear the field so some of our other balloons can take off. So a lot of balloons preparing to go down here on the south end of the field. Lying down there, I see one of the first shapes, which is Great Expectations, Dr. Stephen Comedina's balloon with the stork.
Oh, yeah. Now, he hasn't been there all week long, so we saw him one day earlier this week after flying. He inflated the balloon, but apparently he's obviously taking part in our Special Shapes rodeo this morning.
And waiting to take off is a great friend of ours, Carolyn Lilly. Carolyn has been a pilot in the Albuquerque area for a long time. She is normally part of the command center group for the America's Challenge in the years we hold that. And she's flying a wonderful balloon called It's a Zoo, which has, it's kind of yellow at the top and kind of orange. You can kind of see it on your screen there with the giraffes on it. And it's just gorgeous, and she's getting ready to take off just any moment now.
Ballooning, of course, is quite popular on the Masai Mara in Africa, and that balloon always reminds me of that because it has that sort of sunrise or sunset, depending on your perspective, I guess, of the graduated reds and oranges and yellows with the silhouettes of the giraffes, and there are other wild animals as you go around the balloon, and maybe once she launches we'll be able to see a little more of that. But one of the beautiful balloons that I've enjoyed here for a number of years. I see the U.S. Bank balloon standing up tall, red, white, and blue. That's Scott McClinton flying here for U.S. Bank. Rainbow Riders getting their balloons again airborne. And it's a very, very slow launch in terms of once you're above the field. And I do remember hearing the launch directors on the radios earlier saying they would be reminding pilots to get up and get out because we want to clear the field quickly this morning to allow for competition. And getting up is a means of getting up and getting a little bit of speed so that they can clear the field.
Take her down to. Take her down to our roof.
She's not there.
Oh, Kathy's there.
We also have, we're just arranging some special guests for interviews. Along the south row here, I see now Dr. Tom McConnell's family getting, I think that's Tom McConnell III, I think that's flying the balloon. The Zia balloon, yellow with the red New Mexico Zia. Right beside it, Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is one of the is the official soft drink of Balloon Fiesta. And I think that's the Dr. Pepper balloon that's inflating just beside it. It's yellow with a red and blue spiral. And the next balloon over, I can't quite make out the banner on that just yet, but we'll see it once it stands up.
Honda Generators, I do believe.
Is that who that is? Oh, yeah, I think you're right. I think that is the Honda Generators balloon. Yellow with what looks like basically a rainbow peacock pattern to it. It's going to be an absolutely gorgeous morning. It looks like this. You can really look now. I don't know if we can get a wide shot onto the screen, but as you look off to the northeast, a little further to the right than what you're seeing on screen now, we can see the pink color of sunrise now really beginning to reflect off the bottoms of some of these clouds. So it looks like it's going to be quite a nice. There you go. There you can see it. If you look over to the left-hand corner of the screen image you have now, you can see the pinks reflecting off the bottom of those clouds, and that's an indication again of the sun beginning to rise on the far side of the Sandias, those beautiful mountains. And they're called the Sandia Mountains. Sandia is an Indian word for watermelon. And in the evenings here at sunset, as the sun is setting in the west and shining onto the face of the mountains that you're looking at there, they take on this beautiful pink hue, and thus the name Sandia, or watermelon, because it does remind you of the beautiful inside of a nice ripe watermelon when you slice it open. So the Sandia Mountains, a great geographic feature. And there's one of those rider baskets, rainbow rider baskets we were talking about, and you can see that's a big basket. I can't quite count how many folks are in that balloon as it's turning as it goes out this morning, but much larger than, and look at all the camera, it looks almost like a camera platform there. Everybody's got a camera in hand and taking pictures out of the side of the balloon, out of the basket. But those Rainbow Rider balloons, again, are quite large baskets when compared to the standard sport balloon baskets, and they're passing just in front of one of the other balloons as they get airborne. The pilot, as you can see, is located off to one end in a separate compartment at the end of the balloon. And there's also, you can see the shield over the tops of the heads of the passengers, which is there to kind of help them, protect them from the heat of the burners, the reflective heat of the burners. There goes It's a Zoo down here on our end of the field that Kim was talking about just a while ago.
Bye, Carolyn.
Bye, Carolyn. Have a great flight today. The state of Arizona balloon. We have a number of balloons that, in one way or another, represent states. Here, the Arizona balloon getting airborne. I can see the state of Arizona flag, or at least a rendition of the Arizona state flag on this balloon just launching out of the west side of the field. Great Expectations is getting inflated. Takes a while there. There is the Blue Chair Bay rum balloon, and that is our good friend Glow Kehoe. That balloon has been on tour, Blue Chair Rum, or Blue Chair Bay Rum, a sponsor of the current Kenny Chesney concert tour that I believe has just wrapped up. I think this is their last location for flying the balloon. And Glow Kehoe is operating that balloon. The Dr. Pepper balloon now standing up nice and tall. There is Smokey Bear on the video screen, the Smokey Bear balloon, and we were told earlier this morning this is the 50th anniversary of Smokey Bear. I don't know that that's correct, but I hope it is. But that information was certainly passed on to us this morning. And Smokey Bear, by the way, obviously you may know the story, was a real live bear cub that was injured years ago in a wildfire here in New Mexico. He was taken into custody by forest rangers, doctored, looked after, brought back to life, and for a number of years became the advertising spokesperson for the U.S. Forest Service, saying, remember, only you can prevent forest fires. Now it's wildfires. And that balloon, a lot of people think sometimes that somehow the Forest Service paid for it, but it was not. That balloon is actually paid for by private donations. It is not funded by the government in any means. A few years ago, there was a very nice book written about the balloon team and its program. They were kind enough to give me a copy of it. So, very special balloon that is amongst our many special shapes. And we have a lot of Fiesta flyers to get in the air first this morning, and then we'll begin to see the special shapes and who they all are. And we have up, I think, just right around 100 shapes that are participating this year in Special Shapes Rodeo Glowdeos. So we're going to have a lot of shapes to show you. And we have some special guests joining us here on set that we'll be talking to in just a moment as well. So, are they ready to go?
Yeah, we are, I think. We're ready to go.
Do we have Kim's mic up, guys? I didn't hear just then. And we need this.
Okay.
There she is.
All right. A little technical difficulty here. We are joined by some very special guests who have come all the way from launch site, S1 or wherever you guys are?
And these S1's are members, a long way from here.
And these are members of the 501st Legion, and I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Jeffrey Bustamante with the Rebel Legion.
And I'm Joseph Perez, and I'm part of the 501st, which is the Dewback Ridge local garrison.
Okay, and how many members of the various legions do we have here working at Fiesta?
Okay, with us, we have 108, but can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. I was
Okay.
just going to say, Kim, they can keep the hand
Okay.
mic. You're on that mic.
Okay.
Okay, so we have like 108 locally, but worldwide we have 13,000, and we're all over the world.
My goodness. What is it that attracts you to take part in this type of an activity?
Well, this one in particular is a lot of fun because we're able to, first and foremost, support the safety of the balloons and make sure that the crowd gets an enriched experience, but a safe one as well. And then, as I mentioned, the enriched experience to the extent that a lot of pictures, a lot of kids really love seeing us out here, and we actually have representation from multiple states on our own behalf. So it's a fun, really large event for us.
Yeah, and we should mention, just in case no one's figured this out, that you guys are here in support of the Darth Vader and Yoda balloon.
Yes, we supported. I think it's 11 years to 11 years this year. We supported the the balloon, the Vader, and now the Yoda. And like I said, we also do charity events locally. Every day we do like different charities. So we're constantly busy. But this is like our favorite event.
So
What
this
is
is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, what is your favorite thing about doing a Balloon Fiesta?
Well, it's the kids. They come up to us and they see us in costume and they're like in awe. So it's wonderful.
And this, as you were saying, this is not just something that is done for Balloon Fiesta. This is an activity you guys are involved in year-round and doing other events as well.
We are. With the 501st, it's the Dewback Ridge Garrison, and with the Rebel Legion, it is the Bantha Canyon Base. And we do multiple charity events through the years, visit hospitals, do a lot of really good work through the state.
How did you get involved in this to start with? Obviously, you both
You
must
gotta be Star
You got to
Wars
be Star
fans,
Wars
yeah.
fans, right?
Big Star Wars fans.
Yeah, just for myself, it's huge Star Wars fan, grew up loving it, and then, I had always tried to do a lot of different hobbies, but this one really stuck with me just because of the ability to give back to the community.
And do you make your own costumes and
Yes, we
put
do.
all this together?
Yes,
Uniforms?
we do. We make our own costumes, and a lot of it too is they have to be screen accurate. So what you see on TV on the films
Uh-huh.
is what we have here. So we have to be screen accurate, and like I said, it's the joy of just bringing Star Wars to the community.
Is Chewbacca around?
Not today, but probably tomorrow.
Oh, really?
Yes, we have a Chewbacca. We have a Vader. We have an Emperor down by the ballooning area. We take pictures. So come on down.
Okay, and you guys are in which launch site now again?
R1. R1.
R1, and so people know that's down basically in the northeast corner of the Balloon Fiesta field.
Yes, and come down and take pictures. We enjoy it. We love interacting with all our Star Wars fans.
Outstanding. Well, thank you for making your way up here this morning to visit with us.
Well,
have a. I was trying to think of something
May the
Star
Force be
Wars.
with you.
May the Force be with
May
you.
the
Of
Force
course.
be
Thank you
with
so
you.
much.
Good grief.
Great. Thank you very much.
I'm better
Thank
than that.
Thank you for coming all this way down and have a wonderful morning. down
literally
there.
from a galaxy far, far away, or at least a launch site far, far away.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. So just some of the fun and excitement you can find here at Balloon Fiesta as we have some Star Wars characters here with us this morning, and good fun visiting with them.
Yeah, Benoit, Kathy Leindecker, who's our stage manager up here, was mentioning that Benoit, who flies the Vader balloon, is himself a Star Wars reenactor.
Well,
And that has brought a whole nother time and relative dimension in space, although that's a different series,
Yes.
to Balloon Fiesta. They have Vader and now Yoda.
yeah, it does. And my personal connection to Star Wars, when they first brought out Darth Vader, when that balloon first debuted, I was lucky enough to work with Benoit and the Star Wars folks, and we did an issue of Ballooning Magazine with Darth Vader on the cover. And it wasn't long after that I was organizing a silent auction for the Balloon Federation of America's convention back in 2008. And so I got in touch with George Lucas and asked if he would be kind enough to sign a copy of the magazine that we could then auction to raise funds on behalf of the BFA. And he not only did that, but I sent my copy of the magazine that I had already had Benoit and his son sign for me here at Balloon Fiesta, sent that out, and George Lucas signed my copy for me as well. So among my prized collectibles is an autographed copy of Ballooning Magazine with Darth Vader on the cover that's signed by the two pilots and George Lucas.
That's a pretty cool souvenir.
I thought so too. I was pretty excited to get that. We continue to launch with our, and you'll see Darth and Yoda, by the way, this morning. in our Special Shapes Rodeo as we get to that end of the field and that part of the launch this morning. We continue, though, right now to get our Fiesta flyers and some of the corporate balloons out and into the air. The Dr. Pepper balloon now just going airborne, and also the Blue Chair Bay rum balloon, again, Glow Kehoe flying that balloon from the Kenny Chesney concert. And as they lift away, we can now begin. Here also goes the Zia balloon just in front of us. Tom McConnell, or Tom McConnell's second or third or fourth. I lose track of the generations. But Dr. Tom McConnell, the original Dr. Tom McConnell, was up here with us a day or two ago.
The first we have the first Special Shapes up now too. Preventive press control with the spiders on the side, flown by Don Moyer from
That also
Glen.
has a Zia on the side of it. We've been talking, Art and I have a lot about the different Zia balloons. We see the yellow one going airborne now, but a part of their logo on that green balloon, on the pest control balloon, is actually, now you can just about see it, Kim, as you look back over your shoulder.
Ah, yes.
And you can see the white, kind of a light green white Zia as a part of the design of their logo.
We also have airborne the carousel from Orchard Lake, Michigan, flown by Frank Campanelli. So we're beginning to see the first of our shapes, and also we have this brown bug. I don't know, bugs. But he's
spiders and bugs and insects. Oh my!
And so we're beginning to see, and we'll actually see quite a large number of the Special Shapes actually fly today. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they remain on the ground static.
I think some of the larger, more difficult or more complex, I should say, may stay static. A few always do, but I think a lot of them, especially since we have relatively light winds today, we were looking at the wind profiler earlier, and really nothing over 9 miles an hour, and that was only in a very narrow layer. And so I suspect we will see a great many of the shapes take to the sky and take the opportunity to fly. That one you were just talking about, the black and yellow bug, is actually Buzzy the Bee. And that is out of Jefferson City, Missouri, and the pilot is
Janice Sines. Janice Sines, yes.
Our Coca-Cola balloon is also just getting airborne now. Coca-Cola, the official soft drink of Balloon Fiesta, and another of the appendage-type shaped balloons that's in the air is that blue balloon with the two buffalo head on either side, or bisons, and that is oh gosh, I just forgot. It's Barry Ballinger is the pilot, and that is they're turning it around so I can read it.
Yes, it's In the Buff is the name of the balloon.
Yeah, and the crew wear T-shirts that say "We fly in the Buff," but it's actually sponsored by the Plains Capital Bank. That's what I was trying to read, and I couldn't remember the full name of the bank. But Barry Ballinger is the pilot, and the crew does say they fly in the Buff. I've never checked that out. Not sure I want to. Could be too much information.
Yes, I think way too much information. They come from Lubbock, Texas.
They do, out of West Texas. There's a great shot, or there's a great view from our vantage point of Great Expectations. That is the balloon of Dr. Steve Comodina. Steve, a longtime member of the board of directors here and a supporter of Balloon Fiesta. This is, I think, the second version of this balloon.
It is indeed.
I remember when the first balloon debuted here some years ago. We just saw Janice Sines fly away in Buzzy Bee, and Gary Sines now is inflating Coco the Clown right beside Great Expectations. And Coco is a fun balloon to watch for the kids because it's a two-faced balloon. Gary, I'm not saying Gary's a two-faced pilot. I would never say that. But the balloon is two-faced, and if you look at it closely, on one side you'll see a happy Coco the Clown with a big smiling grin and bright shining eyes, and on the other side, Coco's not quite so happy. He's frowning a bit, and just an unhappy balloon. So a two-sided or two-faced balloon, the clown balloon there.
Back behind Great Expectations, you see the emoji balloon.
Yes.
Which is new. It's out of Great Britain. Lee Hooper.
Lee Hooper is the pilot.
I don't know. Also, we have the Lighthouse balloon. Scott Vesley is taking off, and it looks like the stork is going to spear him with his beak.
It looked for a minute like he might poke him and pop some of the air out of that balloon, but I think he's clear now. So we see Smokey in the air there.
It's Smokey's 50th anniversary,
That's what I was saying just a little earlier, was you were coordinating with the Star Wars folks. We were told that it's Smokey's 50th anniversary, and so we hope that's true. There goes Lindy, the caricature balloon from Lindstrand Balloons. We're getting into an area now where a lot of the special shapes are along Main Street, and we're launching south to north, so several of them launching from here in front of us. Lindy is getting airborne just in front of Emoji. There's Coco the Clown. We see Humpty Dumpty and Smokey Bear in the air there as well. We had a shot on screen a moment ago of Wes the Wolf. Now that is one of the special shapes from a menagerie of shapes brought to us by Exclusive Balloons from the UK, associated with Longleat and their fantastic event Sky Safari. And I think later today we have a little special activity that's going to take place down at Wes the Wolf. I don't know that we'll capture that on screen or on our feed, but let's hope so.
It's a wonderful balloon. It's flown by Ashley Moore from Wickwar, Gloucester. I hope I said that right.
Gloucestershire.
Gloucestershire.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure I said it right.
Yeah,
but
sometimes those get run together in British names. You know, the
and
syllables
actually,
kind of do.
I forget. I actually think they don't say Shire. They say Gloucestershire.
Gloucestershire, yeah.
Gloucestershire. I don't know.
but anyway, we're glad to have them all the way from Great Britain.
We are, and there's, as I say, they're part of a whole group of balloons. There's Wes the Wolf. We have the brand new Koala Bear. We have Cymbaloo the Lion, and then of course we have Puddles, Splash, and Tall Steve, the Penguin family, all brought to us by Andrew Holly. And there's a brand new special shape. It was supposed to debut yesterday, but didn't, and I think I caught a glimpse of it on the feed just a little earlier. When we get it on camera, we'll talk to you about it. But there is a great shot of Humpty Dumpty, who hopefully is in fact sitting on his wall. If you look around his feet just behind, you can see the brick wall base that Humpty is sitting on, and we hope Humpty will not have a great fall, but instead have a great flight this morning, and that is Rich Lawhorn flying Humpty Dumpty. I see Doug Gant has his Hamlet is inflated. Yes. When Pigs Fly. And we're going to concentrate in our commentary, obviously this morning, mostly on the special shapes. A lot of the Fiesta flyers continue to launch, and we've been talking about them all week. So we know most of the folks are out today to see the special shapes, and so we're going to try and feed you as much information on that as we can. There on the screen now is Chickaboom. And Chickaboom was the first certified special shape here in the United States. Great story behind it. It's a hot air replica. There goes the emoji with Lee Hooper on board. But Chickaboom was a replica, or is a replica, of the 1950s, late 50s, early 60s B-movie star Carmen Miranda. And the story behind this is that when the balloon was designed, Bruce and Tucker Comstock owned Cameron Balloons US at the time. They went over to England working with Don Cameron, and they actually went to a fruit market somewhere, I think probably in Bristol in the UK, where Cameron Balloons headquarters is, and went out to a fruit market, and Cameron put a scarf around her hair and then went through this market putting pieces of fruit, holding them up on her head so they could get the proper perspective in designing the balloon. So
that balloon was originally owned by the Sokup Thomas. It was part of the Sokup Thomas fleet.
Yes. By
Jacques Sokup and Kirk Thomas, who lived here in Albuquerque at the time. And before they debuted it here, they wanted to take it down and test fly it. So we took it down to Glen, down south of Albuquerque. And my husband and I took our regular shaped balloon down there with them, and they flew Chicky and we flew our balloon, and I'll tell you, I never felt like our balloon looked as plain as, I mean, it had a big inferiority complex, but it's a very, very cool balloon, and it's been part of Fiesta for, probably 30 years now. And we're really, really glad to see Chicky back. Straight in front of us getting ready to take off is Peter Procopio with Koshari Gallup, which is comes to us, of course, from Gallup, New Mexico, west of Albuquerque, and is one of the balloons that we see flown in the Gallup rally here. Old favorite here
Absolutely.
At the Fiesta.
Well, and because there is obviously a tremendous community of Native American tribes all around Albuquerque, and and something brand new this year, and it was just brought to our attention that we're using this morning. This, ladies and gentlemen, is an aerial view of Balloon Fiesta from a drone. Now, you may have seen news reports that a lot of drones are being flown illegally in our airspace. This drone is sanctioned and authorized by Balloon Fiesta, And look at the amazing shot. It's like being in a balloon without being in a balloon. And we recorded earlier this morning some incredible video as the Dawn Patrol guys were flying. We'll show you that at some point today, probably in our highlight reel. But this is the first time we've had their feed attached into our feed. And look at that amazing shot of Balloon Fiesta. You're looking at it just as if you were floating over Balloon Fiesta in a balloon right now.
And is that gorgeous or what?
What an amazing picture that is. And look how many balloons there are. We obviously, sometimes even from our elevated perspective, we can't really see a view like this of the entire field. Just an amazing, amazing shot.
This is looking north to south, so you're seeing some of the balloons on the north end of the field that are inflating down there that oftentimes we don't really talk about very much because they don't get down to this end of the field much.
Well, and even where we are at our elevated rooftop studio, when we have balloons standing as we do in front of us, we can't see the other end of the field.
Guys,
so, yeah, it's actually giving us a perspective that we've never been able to see before. So that is just an awesome shot.
This is cool. This is cool.
Standing tall in front of us, right next to Chickaboom, is the little penguin tourist balloon. And that balloon is Snowbird. It's a penguin decked out in a Hawaiian shirt with a camera obviously hanging around his neck. And that is being flown by Don Edwards. This is Don's 26th year. Don is a former executive or event director.
Executive director
of Balloon Fiesta, yeah. And
event director. Event director.
Yeah, Paul Smith is the executive director.
Sorry,
Don was,
Paul.
Yep, excuse us. Don was the event director for a number of years. He's now moved up and is working in Alaska, in Palmer, Alaska.
And also taking off is Pico. We talked to those folks a couple of days ago.
Yeah, you had an interview with the pilot the other day.
Daniel Turcotte. He's from Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu in Quebec in Canada, where they have a very big rally. That's near Montreal in Canada. And so we're very glad to have Pico back with us this year.
There's a great shot on the screen of Chicky Boom. Boom, chicky boom, chicky boom, chicky boom, they said. And you can see all the fruit. And as we were telling you earlier, the story about when Tucker Comstock was over in England with Cameron balloons, and they literally went around putting fruit on her head to get the proper perspective for the design of the balloon. There is the balloon Pico that Kim was just talking about, the artist creation that represents the Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu balloon event. I was lucky enough to fly in the event some years ago. Tom Rutherford was there with me the same year and took Tommy on a flight with me and had a great time.
As these balloons begin to take off, we're beginning to see some of the other shapes that are a little bit further north on the field. The bees are about to buzz, folks.
And we've had a lot of activity on the, I haven't checked into the Facebook feed yet this morning, but we've had a lot of comments throughout the week from folks asking, where are the bees? Are the bees going to be there? Yes, they are here, and they will be making an appearance here very soon.
One of the balloons I see that is new is Cynthia the seal.
Yes.
It's kind of there between the puppy dog with his little tongue hanging out there.
That's our little bulldog.
And the balloon with my favorite name of all the balloon names, One Down, 9 to Go, which is flown by Mike Garcia from here in Albuquerque, and his little face is kind of turned around, but you can see his ear. And when that balloon turns around where we can see it, you will see that he's a little the worse for wear, that kitty is. So we have cats, dogs, and seals.
Seals, and we have penguins, and we have lions, and tigers, and bears.
Oh my.
The bulldog you were just looking at, by the way, is Buster the Bulldog, OPAW, O-P-A-W. That is flown by Paul Burrows, and they are here from Bristol, also in the United Kingdom. So
we have a lot of wonderful British shapes with us.
We do,
year.
And that's one of the new shapes that's here with us this year. This balloon is the oh gosh, I was trying to read it off the screen and can't quite see it. I'll see if I can't bring it up in the spotter that we're seeing now. Art and I talked about it earlier this week.
Yeah, and I was trying to find it too, and
yeah,
can't.
I'm not sure I'll find it in time.
While you're finding it, standing right facing us here on the stage is the 77 KKOB balloon, and you can see it there on your screen. KKOB, really, that goes back to the very earliest days of the Balloon Fiesta, when KKOB Radio was celebrating their 50th anniversary. It was just KOB at the time. and they asked Sid Cutter if he could bring his balloon down for the celebration, and Sid said, well, I could bring my balloon, maybe I get 2 or 3 more, and maybe we can have a balloon race. And somebody said, well, what's a balloon race? And Sid said, well, I don't know, but they have them.
Yeah.
So we wound up with 13 balloons in 1972, and that became the first balloon fiesta.
Right.
And I mean, and here we are today. Just look at this. This is great. That is Ron Curry. Who flies the KKOB balloon.
I did find that balloon that we were trying to find now that they're off screen, but just to catch up, that was the offyourrocker.com balloon, and Scott Vanderhoist is the pilot. They are here from Sebastopol, California. So apologies, I couldn't bring that
and I do
to hand.
see just next to KKOB off to the right, the Cannon balloon is off. Of course, Cannon is our title sponsor, flown by Johnny Petrin out of Texas, 4-time U.S. champion.
And past world champion and #1 ranked pilot in the world.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Let's put it that way.
He's one of the better ones. You're absolutely right. We're beginning now to see more and more of the special shapes. We're still launching a whole field full of Fiesta flyers too.
Yep.
I'm actually a little surprised at the number of Fiesta flyers on the field this morning.
Yeah, I do see Bill Lee in the New Mexico True balloon. Bill is with the Chamber of Commerce in Gallup. And for those who might have seen the movie Coco, you'll recognize the Day of the Dead imagery.
Yes.
Which is a very traditional October holiday. And I understand that Ruth has got an interview for us down there. Ruth.
Too late.
Too late.
We lost him.
Lost him, okay.
And that was the wolf balloon with the wolf howl going on there. Off we go out here in the middle of the special shapes at Balloon Fiesta Park. Hey, you guys, how many special shapes have you seen this morning?
Not really sure.
Not really sure. Which one is your favorite?
The one that just lifts off right now. Yeah.
That's the wolf balloon. Did you howl?
No.
Aww. Okay, well, thanks for coming to Balloon Fiesta. Back to you guys up on the stage.
Thanks, Ruth. That was the moment I had mentioned earlier. I knew they were trying to coordinate, and we couldn't get things coordinated on our end quickly enough. Wes the Wolf is one of the fleet of balloons from Longleat, from the Sky Safari event that they have, now the second largest event in the world next only to this. And what happened was they had a group of school kids down there around the balloon, and they all did the University of New Mexico Lobo howl. And we were trying to capture that on screen this morning, or on our feed live, but we were just a little late getting pitched down to Ruth, so our apologies for that.
Yeah, our apologies for that. We have a little United Nations here at Fiesta. Of course, it is the International Balloon Fiesta. And we have, you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, well, we have the pumpkin taking off now. But you had a shot briefly of the Grenadier, Martin Ian, the Busby Queen's Guard from Great Britain, and right behind him is Little Con, everybody's favorite, let's say, guy on the wrong side of the law there.
Yeah.
And that balloon comes from the Czech Republic. It's flown by Petr Kubicek, who is a balloon manufacturer, actually one of the major balloon manufacturers now. Yeah,
Kubicek, one of the balloon manufacturers that does have an exhibit here on the field near the south end. They're located right out in front of the Sid Cutter Pilot Pavilion. All of our manufacturers are there. We have Lindstrand, Cameron, Ultramagic, and Kubicek balloons. So you can stop in, as we were talking earlier about baskets, and see some of the new technology and equipment that we fly here at Balloon Fiesta. You can actually even make a, if you're really, really bitten by the bug while you're here, you can buy a balloon while you're here. So you might want to stop in and see the manufacturers on the way.
Oh, we have another shot from the drone.
Yeah, I was going to say, back looking at the drone there, another aerial view. As we continue to enjoy that, a couple of the balloons that I see in front of me at this point, we see Tammy Foley with her Tamo balloon, the pink camouflage balloon carrying a banner for the American Heart Association. Now she and Mike Schrum also have a brand new special shape that is a heart balloon, and I believe that balloon is called Tamo. We'll check it on that, and I'm hoping we'll see it today as part of Special Shapes Rodeo, but we'll see.
Yeah, there's the camo
yeah, there is the camo balloon, that pink camouflage. And
just taking off right now.
Yeah, Tammy is just getting airborne, and they have found all kinds of pink camo. I never knew pink camouflage was such a thing because they found vehicles and tennis shoes and clothing and all sorts of things in pink camo. So I guess that's kind of a thing nowadays. Interesting. Cynthia the Seal has launched, and down at the far north end of the field, a very special balloon, the Earth balloon, that is brought to us by Doug and Patty Grimes. That balloon literally is, if you remember the TV show years ago on PBS, Big Blue Marble.
I do.
That was a view of the Earth from space. It was one of the shots taken by the Apollo astronauts. They actually used public image, or public, what am I trying to say, Kim?
Public television.
No.
No?
I'll think of it. Anyway, they used images that are not copyrighted. They're available to the public from NASA, and actually used those and then printed those images on white balloon fabric and then stitched the balloon together. That's how it was created.
That's very cool.
A very accurate global image of the Earth, or the Big Blue Marble.
Is that Tall Steve?
That is
we have
Tall
there?
Steve.
Okay.
This is one, as we said, West the Wolf, Tall Steve, Puddles and Splash, Cymbaloo, and I can't think now of the name of the koala bear. We don't have it in the program. They actually named it the weekend that we did the Sky Safari event over in England about a month ago, and I don't know that I actually remember. There were 3 or 4 choices people could vote on, and I don't know that I actually ever saw which one that was decided on. But anyway, Tall Steve is the penguin chick. Andrew Holly, the owner of Exclusive Balloons over in the UK, flying that balloon. There goes Luke. I am your father.
Oh, Luke and Yoda.
Yeah, from a galaxy, or at least a launch site far, far away from our location.
When you take off, there is no try. You do
that's
or
right.
do not.
You do or do not. You fly or fly not, but there is no try. So Darth and Yoda are in the sky, and Tall Steve is in the sky, and I'm sure we'll see Puddles and Splash, his parents. Originally, Puddles was the first penguin to come along, and then Puddles got a girlfriend named Splash, and then, as penguins sometimes do,
there are more of them.
Yes, they procreated and brought us Tall Steve, the little chick, who's actually taller than both Mom and Dad. And now, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard Art and I talking about it all week long, a brand new special shape. This is also brought to us from Exclusive Ballooning. It's making its debut here at Balloon Fiesta, and it is the only one of Andrew's fleet that I know of that is not an animal. This is the Hunter boot. Hunter makes rain boots, and
you need those in Britain.
You do need those over in England and Scotland, where in the UK, where it rains quite often. I helped arrange a special photo flight for the balloon earlier this week before Fiesta. They actually took the boot up and flew it in Santa Fe for some advertising photography. When it first debuted, they flew it up over the city of Edinburgh, Scotland, and it was absolutely some spectacular pictures of the balloon up over the Firth of Forth in Edinburgh. But the Hunter boot, brand new with us, that is Ed Chapman who's flying the boot.
They inflated that here yesterday. They did a test inflation of that.
Yeah.
And it is ginormous. I could not believe how big that thing is. What size do you suppose that is?
I don't know. We used to have the famous footwear balloon, which was the big sneaker, or trainer as they would call it over in the UK. And I suspect that the Hunter boot is about probably the same size. Yeah, it's big.
We see taking off now the Koala, which is a new balloon, also again out of Great Britain. This one out of Berkshire, flown by Dave Baker. And very cute, very cute. I mean, who couldn't love a face like that?
I know.
And behind him is Christ the Redeemer.
Yes.
Which is one of the balloons out of Brazil taking flight. I don't think anybody out in Rio has ever seen it do that.
And that, of course, is the famous statue that's on the top of the Andes Mountains there in Reno, brought to us in hot air form. The story behind the koala bear is that Longleat is a wildlife safari park in the south of England. It was the first safari park established outside of the continent of Africa, and it was 53 years ago that they first brought lions there and began to create what is now a wonderful safari park. They've got every kind of wildlife you can imagine. They've got penguins, where they're soon to have koala bears. They've worked out a cooperative agreement with a game park in southwest Australia, and koala bears will be coming to Longleat, and thus the brand new koala balloon was debuted this year. Cymbaloo, their lion balloon, which I know is out there. We'll see it shortly. Richard Penny flying Cymbaloo. And so the koala, though, represents the fact that koala bears will now be coming to Sky Safari and to Longleat. And I look forward to seeing. I used to collect, years ago, I had a collection of plush, stuffed koala bear toys. I had like 200 or so of them. Ended up giving most of them to a children's hospital, but can't wait to see live koala bears in England.
Taking off now, we have Alphonse. We have a couple of elephants here.
We do.
This particular elephant is flown by Max Mitchell from Champaign, Illinois. Old favorite balloon. And we actually have a shot of an inflation on the screen, it looks like now, from our one of our field cameras.
Yeah, one of the pilots inflating there. And right near where Alphonse launched is the other elephant balloon, which is the pink one with the little crown on it, and that is Princess Nellie. And that is a second, third, or fourth generation.
I was going to say the successor to Nellie B, right?
The successor to Nellie B, which was a balloon elephant special shape brought to us from Belgium. And so Princess Nellie is the newest version of that special shape. And so she will be launching. Nellie B will.
Whatever is inflating over here, it has feet.
Okay, wait on.
Is that Simba, maybe?
No, I think that might have been one of the penguins. I was just trying to see if I could recognize the pilot. There is Hi Kitty, the little pink kitty cat, who is waving to us.
Oh, yes. Hi Kitty,
that
flown
is,
by
Mike Lloyd?
Yeah, it is. Mike Lloyd
Yep.
from Cedar Hill, Texas, who is flying that balloon. And over the top of him is the Lindstrom with the glasses. That's what it's Lindy.
Oh, Lindy.
Yeah, Lindy, flown by Scott Woogie from St. Louis, Missouri.
And we've got, we had a great shot there just a moment ago.
There he is.
Lindy,
There's
little caricature balloon from Lindstrand Balloons U.S. that are located up in Galena, Illinois. And Hi Kitty just drifting out of the sight. Scott Woogie, as you said, flying Lindy. I see now we have two elephants. We have multiple kitty cats usually here, and we have two pigs. We had When Pigs Fly, or Hamlet, going airborne earlier. I see Pegasus is cold inflating down on the field. We also have two Humpty Dumptys.
Yes, we do.
We have Humpty Dumpty, who flew earlier with Rich Lawhorn on board. Now, off in the distance, I can see upside down Humpty Dumpty. This is Humpty in the process of having a great fall. There's a nice shot of Alphonse. That's the gray elephant brought to us by Max Mitchell, as you said earlier. And there goes the octopus's garden.
It almost sings, doesn't it?
Well, it does, and I'm trying to make sure that that's the correct name because I'm thinking of the Beatles tune.
Yeah, I am too.
Ringo Starr, of course, did the lead vocals on that, and the Octopus's Garden. And I don't think that's
in the shade, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I don't think that's the right name for the balloon, though. I think I may be misidentifying it.
And we're both sitting here frantically searching for the.
You're searching
name.
through the program. I'm searching through our spotter app, trying to find it so that we can identify it properly, because we misidentified the city and county of Denver, Colorado balloon yesterday.
Yes,
so
we did.
Apologies for that. Actually, you and I didn't. Art did.
Yeah.
So we'll blame it on Art.
John Schmitz, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, and if you've just tuned into the feed and missed our introduction this morning, my usual co-anchor here on the rooftop studio, Art Lloyd Jr., is a bit under the weather and not with us this morning, but hopefully he'll be joining us back this evening for the first of our Special Shapes Glowdeos tonight. But,
I just saw a message that they're looking at opening the competition target now at 8:20.
8:20, okay.
8:20. So they're in the process of clearing the field, especially that west side of the field, so that they can start flagging that off and putting the targets out.
I think it's just taking longer to get all of these balloons in the air this morning than we anticipated. Originally, we were hoping to open the field about 8. The goal was to have the field cleared at 7:45, and I just don't think we're going to make that. Hey, over around Main Street, was just watching. People have been asking for the bees. The bees are here.
The bees have buzzed in.
And they have just stood up in unison, as they often do. So there's Lily, help me.
Lily, Jolie. Jolie is the baby.
Yeah, or is it Jolie or
Joey,
Joelle?
It's Joey, and then Joelle is the baby.
Yeah,
You're
so
right.
Lily, Joey, and Joelle
Yeah.
are the three balloons, the mom, the dad, and the baby. Like the penguins, Puddles, Splash, and Tall Steve. And speaking of penguins, that was one of the penguins we saw. That
Yes,
that would be Puddles, because it has the red skirt around it. That's the female of the penguins.
Oh, the male is taking off too. I think on the right side.
I think
of the
right
screen.
beside each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's Neil Langford, and I know Chris Libacek from Alaska is flying one of the penguins. I forget which is which.
Yeah, Chris from Wasilla, Alaska.
Yep. Chris was instrumental in working with Andrew and our team that when Andrew did the Guinness World Record flying, he is the first and only balloonist to fly a balloon in all 50 states in world record time. He did it in 43 days, and Chris was instrumental in making the flight up in Alaska happen. In fact, he drove the snowmobiles that retrieved Andrew after landing on a frozen lake up there. And so...
And out on the north end of the field, kind of in the middle of the field actually out there, we now see Beambo inflated.
Oh, yeah.
Bill Bager from Tyler, Texas, and of course Beambo is one of our major sponsors here at Fiesta.
They have an exhibit over on Main Street where you can go and sample some of their wares. And of course, as we showed you as we opened the show this morning, all the kids here for Kids Day, sponsored by KOB TV4 today, got a nice goodie bag full of stuff, and included in the goodie bag were a couple of products from Beambo Bakeries, so they have some munchies today. I could use some munchies right about now myself, now that I think about it.
Well,
where's that
nice
cereal we had up here?
It's right here, Glenn.
I might need to dip down into our goodie bag
and
for Kids Day and see if I can't get me some cookies or something.
Yeah, those were pretty good.
Right next to Beambo, by the way, is the other hog, the other pig balloon I was talking about, Pegasus. This is the cool pig. He's got his cool sunglasses on. I don't know if those are Ray-Bans or Oakleys or what the brand name is, but he's looking pretty cool down there with his sunglasses on this morning, though the sun is still not yet topped Sandia, and so it's still a bit shady here on the site, and not sure if he needs those sunglasses this early this morning.
Yeah, we do have inflating down here on the south end of the field. We have Peg Lake Pete, who's been around here for a couple of 3 years now, and Peg Lake Pete, of course, from I'm going to mess this up, I know, Mahomet, Illinois. Does that sound right?
Close enough.
Mahomet,
maybe, I don't know.
So then we have that.
I just noticed, we talked earlier this morning, I made the comment you could see Virga falling from some of the clouds overhead, and Virga, for those who don't know, is basically rain that falls out of a cloud but doesn't reach the ground. And I was just looking overhead because I've actually just felt a couple of raindrops hit me in the face, which is a little unusual. So just for whatever that's worth, and we do still see some Virga falling from some of the clouds off in the distance. And so there is, this is Puddles, the boy penguin, and Splash, the girl, is up high above him. Puddles and Splash, as we said, Neil Langford and Chris Libacek flying the two penguin balloons that procreated and resulted in Tall Steve. And also up there, right next to the upside-down Humpty Dumpty, I see Pencil Boy. He is a past participant here at Balloon Fiesta, the giant blue pencil with the red eraser head. And if you get a chance to see him, he's wearing glasses, and reflective glasses, and they are filled with the images of an Albuquerque mass ascension, reflecting right there in his glasses. So Pencil Boy is in the sky this morning. We also see Bucky Beaver has gotten airborne. That is the little beaver balloon down there. Kind of a fun story about Bucky is that it originally started life as Mr. Potato Head, but because of some legal issues, we had to do an extreme makeover, and Mr. Potato Head became Bucky the Beaver. On screen, on our feed, there is Cymbaloo. Cymbaloo is the signature lion from Longleat in south of England, and that'll be my good friend Richard Penny who is flying Cymbaloo. And there's the zebra head balloon, I think, that's inflating just behind it. There's Bucky Beaver with those big old buck teeth right on front.
And that is correct. We do see the zebra inflating. Every launch director's favorite balloon.
Yes. and like, you know, it's interesting. We have, let's see, we have 2 pigs. We have 2, what all were we talking about? We had 2s of earlier.
Oh, we had 3 penguins. So.
We have 3 penguins. We've got 3 bees. We have, gosh, I forgot now. But anyway.
Have a couple of pirates.
Where I was going with this is that we also have 2 zebras. We have the zebra head, Mr. Z, which is the big head caricature of a zebra, but we also have one of our round balloons that's not a special shape, but is a zebra balloon or a zebra, depending again on where you are in the world, and that is Dean Carlton, who has his balloon, Kazoo. It's a pink balloon that has a zebra on looking basically through the balloon. On one side of the balloon, the zebra head, on the other side is the zebra behind. And so anyway, it's called Kazoo. Also in the air, that little ultralight balloon we've been talking about. Guys, I don't know if we can get a shot of it on the feed. It's well over to the left, Gary. It's a little white balloon with a horizontal rainbow stripe.
Oh, I see it.
This is the balloon we were talking about earlier that has the propeller, the motorized engine on the balloon. He's right between that turquoise with the yellow and red diamond, and he's crossing behind kind of a blackish
it's kind of over the west side of the field, southwest corner of the field.
Yeah, southwest corner of the field. We're looking now at the special shape, the saxophone, that is a new special shape brought to us this year. And I'll see if I can bring him up in my spotter real quick.
I was looking for that, and I didn't spot it right away. But
sometimes,
you know, when you've got 98 special shapes, it takes a while to.
It takes a while even to scroll through them on the spotter, and sometimes we don't.
The spotter app is great, but
there he is. Yeah, sometimes we don't get images quite in time. But this is Saxon Balloon. It is brought to us by Luis Paulo Assis, and that is from Sao Paulo, Brazil. This is Luis's 19th year flying in Balloon Fiesta. We also have, let's see, I see Bimbo out there. There's another of our cats. We have 2 cat balloons.
Yeah, that's Cutie Dink, the cat balloon,
Cutie
the red
Dink,
cat balloon that's inflating there. That's Trudy DeGraff from here in Corrales, and that balloon is a pretty frequent sight here in Albuquerque.
And our intrepid field reporter Ruth Lind is with us again this morning. She has some special guests down on the field. Let's go down to Ruth.
I'm back from the middle of the field, and I have here with me this morning 2 of our skydivers and their pilot. I have Sam and Matt and Tyler. Hi, you guys. Tyler, you over there?
Hello.
So what are you flying for a tow plane, Tyler?
Today we'll be flying a Cessna 208 Caravan.
And where is the, I don't know, do you call it the hatch or the door where you guys jump out? Is that on the back or on the side?
It'll be on the side. It'll be the left rear of the aircraft.
You guys are professional skydivers. How long was it before you got a little bit yikesy going out the door of the plane?
I remember my first skydive very clearly, and it was pretty terrifying, but it quickly became the most thrilling experience I've ever had. And here I am, 11 years later, and I, no fear. It's just 100%, thrilling and such a joy to be above a beautiful event like this.
How about you, Sam?
I think it was just the adrenaline rush. There was no fear, just pure adrenaline, and it's still there.
I understand we didn't see you come in the evening on Saturday night with your pyrotechnics. Tell me what we're going to see when you guys jump into the field.
You're going to see a fireworks show in the sky, strapped to the skydivers. They'll leave the plane, and once they're formed up, fireworks will start.
Wow. And what kind of fireworks?
Well, they're custom built. There's going to be 64 shots per skydiver of actual projectile explosive fireworks. We'll have the daytime show with a flag, and then the nighttime show after that.
And what kind of training do you have to do to get ready to carry those fireworks? It sounds like there's some risk involved.
There is. So even just to try out for our team, it's a minimum of 1,000 skydives to try out for the team. And then once you're on the team, there are certain levels you have to be at. And everybody that's here is qualified as a pyrotechnic skydiver.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming out and joining us this morning. We look forward to seeing you this afternoon. Back up to you, Glenn.
Thanks, Ruth. And by the way, that would be a jump plane, not a tow plane.
And
I don't think divers like to get towed like a banner, but that's okay. It's early in the morning. We understand.
Pyrotechnic skydiver. That's got to be an interesting thing to put on your resume.
Yeah, I would think so. Team Fast Tracks is another of the new attractions we have this year, and we will have live video of their jump because they carry helmet cams. When they jumped in on, I believe it was Sunday evening, or maybe it was Saturday evening. I guess it was the first night, our first glow. And they're scheduled to do 2 jumps on the nights that we do glows. And we do have, of course, our special shapes Rodeo Glowdeo coming up tonight. So Team Fast Tracks will be jumping in about 5:45, I think, in the evening. And they'll do a daytime jump with the American flag. We had some great video of that happening live when they did jump in last Saturday. And then they are scheduled to do a second jump, the pyrotechnic jump that they were visiting with Ruth about. And that'll happen just prior to, it'll be just after the balloon glow, just prior to our evening fireworks. So that's coming up tonight. Team Fast Tracks will be making 2 descents into Balloon Fiesta Park this evening. We look forward to that.
Oh, they were great the other day. They were able to do their earlier jump, and it was just, even though it was really quite windy that day.
It was,
and it was spectacular.
And it was awesome to have live video of that. We literally were flying with them as they flew those parachutes down into Balloon Fiesta Park. Actually saw them come right in and land. It was just as if you were flying or jumping yourself. So we'll have that great video again. Hopefully that link will work this evening for their 2 jumps, especially the pyrotechnic jump at night. I'm anxious to see that.
The last of our special shapes are beginning to leave the field, and as they are setting up the targets now, including the poles. So we have...
oh, that's right. We have pole grabs
We
today.
have pole grab and ringing the pole going on today. And we have the Liberty Bell, which has been an old favorite here in Albuquerque, and we have also I just had him up on the spotter, Little Dog, one of our Brazilian special shapes, flown by Vladimir Taveira from Brazil.
Now that's the one we're seeing on screen, the puppy dog with the little blue hat.
Yeah, that's him.
Because we also have Bidou, the little blue dog, and we had an interview with Luis, the pilot, just the other day. He came up and visited us, so we have that dog. So we have 2 dogs. We have lots of 2s of lots of things. 2 zebras, and there you see a beautiful shot, or not a shot, but I could see it. We have Mr. Z standing up tall, the zebra head balloon. On screen, you're looking at Tamo, the heart-shaped balloon. That is the balloon of Tammy Foley and Mike Schrum, the special heart-shaped balloon. And if we saw, as we were talking about earlier, when Tammy launched her balloon, the pink camo balloon, carrying a banner for the American Heart Association. So that special shape is kind of the relationship that they have with the American Heart Association. This beautiful heart-shaped balloon with white wings, and then the hands are down in front of the balloon forming a heart as well. Mr. Z is the balloon that is our launch director balloon you were talking about a moment ago, and that is Tom Wright from right here in Albuquerque. Our zebras, as we lovingly refer to them, or zebras, are our launch directors. They are the folks down in the crowd there, decked out in those black and white striped referee uniforms with often a lot of various accoutrements. And they are the folks, they are experienced pilots and crew who generally give up the opportunity to fly at Balloon Fiesta to serve the other pilots who come here from around the world. And they do a wonderful job. It's their responsibility to get a safe, coordinated launch off each and every time, and they do a fantastic job. And so the zebra head, Mr. Z, is a tribute to our zebras, our launch directors.
And we have Lily and Jolie. We were looking at them in close-up just a moment ago, smooching or something.
I'm looking at the other special shape that I'm not sure if that's still Mike Schrum's balloon or not, but the big dog there, we talked about having a couple of dogs. He always inflates and has his butt in the air, right?
It's Beagle Maximus.
Beagle Maximus, and he has his Maximus. The way it inflates, the Maximus is the part that sticks up in the air first.
Yeah,
always funny.
It's James Cassell from Albuquerque that owns that thing, or Cassell or Cassell. And I know the guy, so I should know. You would think.
I went to school with a guy named Jimmy Castles, but I know that's not him.
And that balloon is unbelievably big.
It is.
We put it up on the soccer field over at Rio Rancho High once, and it filled pretty much the whole field.
You know, I'm just thinking an interesting perspective is Beagle Maximus is about the right size for a dog that would go hunting with someone who would be wearing that hunter boot. So if we put the hunter boot beside the Beagle Maximus, I think we'd have a nice perspective.
Yeah, they're let's just say they're both big.
They are, or ginormous. I liked your word for that, ginormous.
And back behind Beagle Maximus, the Wells Fargo Stagecoach is now inflated. Another old favorite here at Fiesta, flown by Beth Wright-Smith.
Yeah, Wells Fargo's been a great sponsor with us for a number of years, and congratulations to Beth, because earlier this week, last Sunday, at the Balloon Federation of America's annual general membership meeting, she received her Ed Yost Master Pilot Award that signifies 40 years of safe, accident-free flying. And so well done to Beth Wright-Smith.
Which is amazing, because Beth is only 38.
36. Oh, yeah. I was going to say 36. So she's packed a lot of flying into those 36 years.
Yeah, she is really remarkable. She's a flight instructor, runs a flight instruction school here in Albuquerque, and has really been a terrific mentor for so many in this sport.
She has indeed. She served on the BFA board of directors some years ago when I was on the board back in the mid-90s, and I got to know her then. She's just a really wonderful person, and congratulations to her. I was trying to see, here it is. I don't know if you can get a shot from the camera on the rooftop here, Gary. Looking straight up in front of us is this new robot special shape. Now this is called Woozy. It is flown by Ricardo de Almeida from Sao Paulo, Brazil. And there he is. That is Woozy. Kind of makes me want to say, danger, Will Robinson, danger, Will Robinson. You know.
And Bimbo, of course, is now taking off. The winds over the field have been very slow, and what happens, you can kind of see it a little bit with some of these shapes that are still up over the east side of the field. You almost get a traffic jam in three dimensions there.
Yes.
And this is what they have been talking about with trying to get the field cleared, so that the competition pilots can start coming in and trying to make their passes on the target.
Well,
but it's really slow over the field
It
right
is very
now.
slow, and we started out this morning saying that they were going to be urging the pilots to get up and get out. Get up, get some altitude, get some wind speed, and get out and away from Balloon Fiesta Park. We should mention now, you talked about clearing the field. We are in that process, so now's a good time to say that, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not part of a balloon team, you do need to be moving your way to the perimeter of Fiesta Park. Most folks will go to the east side, where, as you're kind of beginning to see now, this sort of parade of shapes, many of which are probably going to stay static and not fly, but just simply stand up there for a while. You can see where the crowd is going. You need to be moving to that direction. You can come down here to the south end in front of corporate tents. You can go to the far west side if you'd like, but most of the crowd will go over to the east. If for no other reason, that's where Main Street is, so there's lots of food and drink over there. But I do see our scoring team now is getting the flags out and the poles, and they are flagging off the competition area, and we have to get spectators out of those areas. So again, if you're not part of a balloon team, if you're not balloon crew, we need you to move to the extreme edges of the Balloon Fiesta Park field so that we can get those targets in place. I did see, as you mentioned, we're going to have some targets. We're going to have some poles on the field. The pole grabs, the way those work, usually we have money on those poles. The object is for the competitive pilots to fly in here, be able to reach out and snatch an envelope off the top of that pole, and if they do so, they win a prize.
Yeah, we do have still a couple of special shapes taking off.
We do.
Most recently, it's Kermie, and you see Kermie right there. Oh, isn't he cute? Kermie is flown by Toby Brown from Denver, Colorado. Glad to have you with us here at Fiesta. And back... and again, of course, we still have several balloons that are static. The Bee family is hanging around with us this morning. I see Uncle Sam starting to inflate here in the foreground. Another great favorite of Balloon Fiesta that's been around since the 1980s, I think. He goes back that far. So we have, we're kind of in the transition at this point between the last of the shapes that are going to fly taking off and the beginning of the competition balloons.
Yeah, it'll be a few minutes yet before we start competition, but we are certainly getting set up for that. Again, we have to get the field cleared, get the flags up, and get all of the targets out. We'll monitor the officials' radio and know when we're going to start.
I think about 10 minutes from now is the last I had heard.
I was just checking in with our the comments. I haven't really had a chance to do this morning. Since Art's not here, I'm kind of playing the role of producer today, so I've been a little busy behind the scenes. But checking in on our feed, the comments, a lot of comments on our Facebook feed. Just saw one from a lady who said, or a person, I didn't catch the name, said they were watching from Chicago and they were flying into Balloon Fiesta here tomorrow, so they're coming down from the Windy City. Don't bring the wind with you, please. We've had enough of that already.
I'm sorry.
We've got Cindy Cross Hayes here, says turn your phone sideways to get the full view. That's a good idea. Looking at a couple of the other comments, one person here saying they sat in traffic for nearly 2 hours, so at 6 a.m. they decided to turn around and go back home. I'm sorry about that. You should have hung out with us. It does sometimes take a while to get in here. Traffic can indeed be quite heavy getting in on Alameda, and but at least they're in a position where clearly they can watch the feed if they can't be on site seeing it here live and in person.
The Special Shapes events are some of the most popular at Fiesta.
Yes.
And the major school districts around here, Albuquerque, Rio Rancho, and some of the others are actually on fall break right now.
Right, so we have a lot of locals who can come out during the week that normally would not.
Yeah, we have a lot of families, and also on a number of the streets around here we have commuter traffic because it's during the week. So there is no such thing as leaving too early to come out on Thursday and Friday during Fiesta. We do apologize for the traffic, but there's just an awful lot of people trying to come in. And if you look over at the east side of the field, you can see the crowd over there is really quite large. And we're glad you're all with us this morning.
And apologies for those that if you felt like you couldn't get in, but even we sit in traffic. We don't have special passes that get us through. I made a point of getting up an extra half hour early this morning, leaving the hotel about 4:30 in order to make sure that I could be there.
Yeah, you can see the crowd.
And that's just a small sampling of the crowd. It is, as my old crew chief used to say, chock-a-block full of people over there.
Yeah, and a lot of families, you know, they in the early years of Fiesta, the field was dirt. And
that's being kind. It was actually rocks.
Well, sometimes, it was rocks, it was dirt. Anyway, it was rocks and dirt, when you can, and not necessarily a great place to hang out and have a picnic. But this field, when we started building it in 1996, the south third of it was grassed, and then in about 2002 they grassed the rest of the field, and it really changed the character of Fiesta. So we were able to you see, now you come out here, you see families with blankets spread out having picnics and really making a day of it. And we have that with the concessions. You know, we have food available, and you can go out there and shop till you drop, pretty much literally. So there's a lot to do on the field even after the balloons leave. And of course we've got a lot more action coming up here in just a couple of minutes as the competition balloons start to come in. And as one of the other sports says in their advertising, these guys and gals, because some of them are gals, are good. And they do amazing things trying to fly to these targets and get things ringed and done around on those. Coming over us, you know, we talk about having multiple dogs, multiple cats, but I think there's only one Van Gogh, right?
I think there is just the one Van Gogh. You're absolutely right. And this balloon has been around in Europe for a number of years, but making its first visit here to the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta, and is just about, it's also right there beside Mr. Neptuno, the little caricature fish there. We have a couple of different fish here too. We have Sushi, and we have Neptuno. We have in the past had Guppy here, but I don't think Guppy's with us this year. But yeah, so we have that. Oh, down on the field, I can just get a quick glimpse of the brand new baby polar bear balloon. This is Doug Grimes' balloon. Doug and Patty, of course, operators of Discover Balloons down on the field, where you can buy anything and everything that has a ballooning theme. And so they're brand new, special shaped, the little baby polar bear.
And it's Bila, or is it Bila or Bila?
It's Bila.
Bila,
Bila.
okay.
And the interesting thing, an interesting bit of history about the balloon, it's brand new, but it came out this summer at almost exactly the same time that a brand new baby polar bear was born at the Edinburgh Zoo in Scotland. And Doug actually had a conversation with the Edinburgh Zoo to see if maybe there might be a sponsorship opportunity available there. It didn't work out. But interesting, just a coincidence of the birth of an actual baby polar bear at the same time that Bila made its debut. And as we continue to clear the field and get ready for competition, which will start at 8:20, just a few minutes away from now, let's go down to the field with Ruth, who has another interview for us. Ruth?
Thank you. I'm here with Jay Czar, the immediate past president of the Fiesta Board of Directors, and his grandchildren, Mia and Hudson. Good morning, Mia.
Hi. Hello.
Hi, you guys. Jay, in addition to being the immediate past president, is working on strategic planning for Fiesta. So he's one of the top guys figuring out where we're going from here. And Jay, you said you were already starting to work on the 50th.
We are. We're really excited about the 50th. Now that's 3 years away, and obviously our focus is next year. And of course we want to get through this year, but the day after this event, we start planning for next year. And we also look a little further out, and we're looking at the 50th and doing something very special. Very few festivals get to last 50 years, and so this is such a huge event, very special event. It's New Mexico's signature event, and it means so much to everybody in Albuquerque. You know, ballooning is in our DNA here in Albuquerque, and so it's important to us. So we want something incredibly special for our state.
Ballooning is totally in the DNA of Albuquerque, and it's in my DNA all the years I've been coming out here to Balloon Fiesta. Can you share with us maybe just one little tidbit on the 50th that we can look forward to?
I'm not going to share anything. We're going to have a lot of very unique events is what I will tell you, and they all need to be finalized. So there's a lot of ideas, a lot of concepts, and so nothing is really finalized. It's in the early stages.
Now, if someone wants to be involved in working on the 50th or in working on any balloon fiesta, are there ways for people to do that?
Absolutely. We could not operate this event without navigators, our volunteers. We have thousands of volunteers, and they come from all over the world. We have some volunteers that have been here from the very beginning, and they're what makes this event happen. They really are.
Thank you so much, Jay. And if anyone would like to look into becoming a navigator, you can look on the balloonfiesta.com website or contact Kim Judge at the Balloon Fiesta office. One of the best decisions I ever made, I can tell you that much. Thank you so much for being with us, Jay, and now we'll go back upstairs.
Yeah,
thank you, Ruth. Great job.
Yeah, thank you, Ruth, and we have a lot of navigators. I think there's 1,000 of them or more. And they perform all kinds of jobs on this field. Everything from traffic control to crowd control, launch directors, scorers, field help. You know, this field out here, Balloon Fiesta Park, becomes a small city during Fiesta. Takes a lot of work just to set that up and maintain it. So we need people to do all kinds of stuff. Meantime, here on the field, we have some of the other shapes that are inflated and static. Uncle Sam is now upright, not looking at us, but upright. And next
Uncle
to
Sam,
him,
I was going to say, Uncle Sam is a part of what was the Soka Thomas balloon fleet.
Yes.
Yeah, you may have said that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that's right. And then next to Uncle Sam, we have Squawkers. Squawkers, of course, right here in Albuquerque, and Ursula Richards is the pilot of Squawkers. And actually, we've had a couple of balloons come back in and land on the field that took off earlier.
I was just monitoring the officials' radio, Kim, and you're right. They're talking to the launch directors, reminding them that they can land at the north end outside of the flagging area, And it looks like we do have, like Johnny Petrin in the Cannon balloon now, looking to come in. Look at the Liberty Bell balloon. Great shot of it just on our screen now as it's right overhead of a number of these special shapes as it's coming down a little bit, the bell a bit deformed there for a moment. I'm not sure if they're trying to sneak their way into landing there or not. But we may have some of the balloons, as I say. The balloons can land, especially on the north end of the field outside of the flagging. The flagging, of course, is to keep the area secure for
the targets,
the competition for the targets this morning. And I'm trying to get in touch with officials so we can find out exactly what is underway with regard to targets. I see that we have poles. We talked about that. And I'm not sure. I think we have targets to throw markers at as well this morning.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, Greg Ashton from Meridian, Indiana is flying the Bell, and it looks like he's going to try to sneak into that little spot right there, right next to the Pirate. So just going to drop in right there. And there's launch directors on the field underneath him.
Yeah, I was just monitoring again on the radio. They're getting some launch directors over there.
Yeah, you can see him. Now you can see this, and you can see
see the Bell just dropping in to land there.
A nice little open area there, and there we go. Oh, that was nice.
Yeah,
Very
that was
nice.
nicely, right in front of Main Street. Nicely done. And I see off in the distance, I see the Hunter balloon, and one of the other Cat balloons is probably also thinking about landing at the north end of the field. Van Gogh is coming almost directly over our rooftop studio, or will be in just a moment, as is the little dog, the dog with the blue coveralls and the blue hat.
Up on the north end, we've got the Dracula.
Oh, I said that was a cat. That's actually
no, that's
not
Dracula.
A cat. That's Dracula. Yeah, you're right. My bad.
One of the Brazilian teams, and I'm going to mess the name up. I know it's Romero Guimarães, I believe, from Sao Paulo in Brazil. One of the Brazilian fleet.
And I'm just trying. We're just should be. Let me.
We're probably very close to the target opening.
It's 8:20 GPS time, and I was told the competition would run 8:20 to 9:50, so that would indicate to me that competition is open. So we'll start watching for the arrival of those competitive balloons, and I'm going to grab our Canon binoculars real quickly and see what I can find in the way of targets and poles. As I look around the field, there is 1 pole, 2 poles, 3 poles, 4 poles, 5 poles. Yep. Okay, so we have 5 poles.
This is a big eyeball view of old Vincent coming in here.
There is, great shot of Vincent Van Gogh coming right over us. Now our camera on the field is getting the facial shot. We're actually behind him and don't see the face.
But we can see the faces of the pilots.
Yeah, but there's Neptuno, and was on screen for just a moment. And there they go, directly over the rooftop studio this morning in Van Gogh. That artwork, by the way, that balloon completely hand-painted. There's a great shot of it on the feed.
And Little Dog is coming. It looks like it's coming in to land right here on the south end.
I'm thinking he's going to land here on the south end outside of the flagging.
Right outside the flagging.
And I'm looking at the target, and I'll get on the radio with our officials in a moment here, but I see what we have in the field is an X, which is a traditional target, and then on either side are 2 giant triangles. That would suggest to me that we're looking at either a minimum or a maximum distance double drop.
A double drop, yeah.
Because the object will be to get a marker down inside each of the targets, either as close to the X as possible or as far away, and as the tips of the triangle are lined up with the center of the X. My guess is we're looking at a minimum distance double drop, so the object would be to get your marker down as close to the tip of the triangle, which would line up near the center of the X, as possible. If it were a max distance, I think the triangles would be facing away from the X, but I'll confirm that. In fact, if you can take over for just a moment, Kim, I'll see if I can't confirm that on the radio.
And we have Little Dog landing here, and you can see the people coming over to help grabbing on behind the basket. You do not want to get in front of one of these things when it's coming down. They do have quite a bit of mass and quite a bit of momentum. A couple of our zebras on the ground with him, helping to coordinate the crowd and coordinate the landing. And You know, the field is a great place to land. If you can get back here and get down, it's grass, it's big, it's open. There's lots of help. So it's always a very good idea, you know, when you're flying, if you can sneak back into the field, that's always a very good thing to do. It looks like Bimbo might be actually planning to do that too.
Yeah, it looks like Bill Baker going to try and drop in here at the last minute. As I said, by my GPS time, targets are supposed to be open, but they may have changed that time. I did just confirm with scoring that my suspicion was right. We are looking at a minimum distance double drop. In addition to the fact that there are 5 poles on the field, and each of those poles is a monetary prize that pilots can fly in here and try and reach out and grab an envelope off the pole, and if so, they'll win an unknown prize. They won't know the amount of money they won until we announce it at the award ceremony on Saturday. But there are 5 poles. They are lined up literally right straight across the field. There you can see them as the sun kind of lights up the center section of Balloon Fiesta Park. You can see those 5 poles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, lined up in a nice straight line. And so the pilots will have the chance. But if you want to compete for the overall championship, which all of the pilots here do, that'll be competing, you'll be wanting to score well on the minimum distance double drop. Now again, this is always a little hard to describe for people that aren't balloonists necessarily, but there is an X, a large X on the ground out in the center of the field, and then there is a triangle on either side of the X, on the north and the south. And the point of the triangle is right at the center of the X on either side. And so the object will be to get your marker inside the triangle. It has to land within the triangle. If it's out of the triangle, it doesn't count. So it's got to be inside the triangle, and then as close to the tip or the top of the triangle, which is right aligned with the center of the X. And then we measure from the center of the X to each marker, and obviously the closest wins in a minimum distance double drop. I'm sorry, that's not right. We'll measure the 2 markers, the distance between the 2 markers, for minimum distance. If it were just a single Gordon Bennett, we would measure from the center of the X to the markers, but it's minimum distance double drop, so they'll measure the distance between the 2 markers, but still you want to get them as close together as possible within those 2 triangles.
Tasks, which is what they call these in the ballooning world, have become much more complicated. You know, a lot of people are familiar with the old hare and hound, where one balloon would take off, and then about 10 minutes later the other balloons would take off and try to chase him and get as close to where he lands as you could. Or you'd have single X's across the field. Now it's not unusual at competitions to find that there are 2 or 3 or 4 tasks within a single flight.
Right.
You know, you have to drop a marker here, and then that marker has to have written on it the coordinates of another location where you're going to go drop a marker, and it's really quite something. You see the poles out there in the middle of the field now. Those poles are about, I think, on row M or so.
I believe so. They're fairly close to the center of the field.
And there are 5 of them that go all the way across. And once a pilot gets the envelope off the top of one of those poles, I believe they pull them down.
I think so. I was trying to recall. In some years, they pull it down and put another prize on it, put it back up. But I think, and again, we'll try and confirm this, and we'll see it at some point during the course of the morning. I think this year, once they grab a pole, then that pole comes down.
Yeah, unless they're doing the ring thing this morning, you know, where they have a ring and they try to hook the ring over the pole. I don't know if I hadn't.
I guess I've got to get back on the radio and try and confirm all of that too.
Yeah.
So that we can know,
like
exactly what the pole competition is. It can be very complex. There are events where I've seen where there's so much going on. I've seen double drops and a ring the pole competition and a traditional just a traditional fly-in, throwing a marker at an X. I've seen all that happen in one flight, so that as pilots fly across the scoring area, they're just, it's like a junk sale. They're throwing anything and everything out the side of the basket as they go flying through.
We have a balloon coming in, I think maybe one of the first of the competition balloons.
Which one is that you're looking at?
Over on the west side of the field, red, white, and blue.
Oh, the Stars and Stripes. I think that's, I think that's our Dawn Patrol pilot. Is that Tim Taylor?
Oh, is that Tim Taylor?
I believe it is. I think that might be his new Stars and Stripes balloon. I'm going to step away for just a minute and try and talk with scoring again on the radio, Kim.
Okay.
So I'll be right back.
And here on the field, and several of the special shapes are still up. A lot of kids walking around, and of course Kids Day is going on here on the field. So down south of the main stage, over about row L and M, I believe they are still handing out goodie bags for the kids with snacks and milk and little activities for the kids to do. So if you haven't headed over and taken advantage of that, now is a great time to do it while we're waiting for the competition balloons to arrive, as it were. And so we have a number of the balloons still up. We still see the Beagle. We still see Squawkers. There's a couple actually still inflating out there over on the east side. And some of the balloons, like the Liberty Bell, actually stayed inflated. It's actually kind of deflating now because the brim of the bell is kind of losing air. Of course, hot air rises, and so there has to be a certain amount of pressure in the balloon to hold those appendages open. And since that's at the bottom of the balloon, since it's sitting here on the ground, it's sometimes hard to keep those appendages inflated, and so they kind of sag a little bit. You can kind of see that with Uncle Sam's little collar as well. So we're while Glen is here, we're going to talk a little bit about, we do appreciate our sponsors. Of course, Canon is our presenting sponsor, and that balloon is still inflated with Johnny Petrin down on the
Canon balloon. I'm back with you.
Yeah.
I'm not able to get in touch.
Yeah.
Stand by.
Yeah. Deflating behind him is the saguaro. The cactus that everybody thinks is a New Mexico symbol, but it's really Arizona, and that's of course flown by Pat Niles from Tucson, Arizona. He's going ahead and deflating. You can only stay inflated so long. You only have so much fuel, you see.
Well, and you're absolutely right. People often think that the saguaro cactus is that you see them in New Mexico, and you actually do not. There are no saguaro cactus in New Mexico. They are in Arizona and California, as a matter of fact. I did just hear from Sam Parks, our balloon operations director, and it is $2,000 per pole, and so it's a one-time only. If one of the poles is grabbed, the pole will come down, and the field is allegedly open for competition. I didn't confirm that with Sam, but yeah, I believe it is.
Yeah, they had said they would open at 8:20.
Yeah, 8:20 to 9:50.
And the field looks secure, so I think it's probably open.
It's just,
but it's really slow, and
yeah.
I suspect these competition balloons have to launch a mile away. So I think it is probably just going to take some of these guys a while to get here.
And actually, if you look around and look behind you, I just noticed I'm looking back up over our building.
And here come some of them, yep.
Yeah, there's a couple there's the two of the Hartzell balloons up high.
Three of them, I can see three.
All three Hartzels, or?
Yeah, I can see three Hartzels.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I see the other one there. He was in the glare of the clouds from my view. So yeah, so a lot of the pilots, it looks like they're coming in from the Hartzels certainly are coming in from very high. The Hartzels, by the way, are those blue balloons with the white stars around the center and the checkerboard racing stripes around the bottom. Three of them that look almost identical, and that is Joe Hartzell, Red Hartzell, and Lucas Hartzell. And there is a fourth one here, actually one of their original balloons being flown by Wayne Standifer. Joe Hartzell is a 5-time U.S. national champion. Red Hartzell is a national champion and world champion. And forgive me, Joe, I never can remember if Joe's won the world championship or not. Someone will no doubt comment on Facebook and tell me that. And then his other son, Lucas Hartzell, are flying their three balloons. I see Jeff Bennett and Dale Wong in their identical balloons, green with broad stripes of purples, pinks, yellows, and blues around it. So the competitors are on their way in. They're coming in generally from at least this group, from the southeast, and coming in very high, and then I think are going to drop down and try and make an approach into the competition area. They'll probably actually overfly the park, I think, and then descend and try and fly their way back to the target. We'll watch and see how that philosophy works. But yeah, the field is open for competition, and the competitive pilots are on their way in.
Yeah, that looks to me like that might be kind of the preferred strategy for some of these folks, was to go way over to the southeast of the field and launch and come in high and then try to drop down. And it's a little bit, when it's this light and variable, it's a little bit tricky to know exactly where to drop in, because by the time you get down here, it may have changed.
Yeah, in fact, we had an interview. Was it you that did the interview the other day with Johnny Petrin? And he talked about that very thing, that Balloon Fiesta Park is kind of in a bowl shape, if you will, geographically, and the wind is always kind of moving and swirling and changing, and so just about the time that you think you've got it figured out and you're going to maneuver your balloon into an area where the wind should take you straight to the target, it isn't there. The wind has changed or gone away, or it can be quite a challenging area to fly in. So I think at this point, though, I think we're right on. I think most of the pilots are thinking they're going to come in from the southeast, come high, and then the question is, where will they make their descent and find a direction to come into the park? I see one balloon way off in the distance beyond Bimbo. I can see it's kind of I think it's a purple, yellow, greenish.
I see.
That racing balloon out there. He was in front of the Hartzels and is making his descent. Now, one of the Hartzels is way up high, almost lined up over the center of the field now, will be shortly. And I'm going to watch to see when they make their descent. That's the balloon on the screen that I was talking about, the competitive balloon. And I need to get my spotter. I need to get out of special shapes now and into
the other spotter,
the competition balloon, the other spotter. So we can try and identify as many of these balloons for you as we can. They come by pretty quickly, and we've got several hundred to try and get through, so it's not always possible to grab and identify them for you. But
what the spotter, actually, it's amazing, because I thought I had the right one here. We're trying to spot these balloons. I believe the balloon that you were referring to might be Brett Christian from Indianola, Iowa. And these racing balloons, I think Art and Glen have been talking about this all week. They're kind of the balloon of choice for the serious competitor, because they are narrower and can move up and down through the air much more quickly. And actually, the Hartzels are starting to descend now down towards the field, and trying to drop in very quickly to get down to the field level from that altitude as fast as they possibly can.
Yep, and that's the thing about these racing balloons. You'll hear us talking about that a lot now that we're in the competition. The racing balloons are a little more, they're kind of football or egg-shaped. Yeah, that's one of the Hartzels dropping there, and you can see the balloon rocking and deforming slightly as it drops at a very rapid speed. But now if that were a standard, or what we call round balloon, it would look like a question mark. One whole side of the balloon would be caved in, and the advantage, these balloons were actually designed to have greater stability in a rapid ascent or descent, as you see that balloon doing there. So while it will deform some, it will actually fall at a much greater speed than a round balloon and still maintain its stability. So it's a much safer balloon to fly in this type of competition if you are making those very, very radical and in world and national level competition, top level competition, pilots do. They fly and have to move the balloon into very differing layers of wind very rapidly. So a rapid ascent or descent is not uncommon. And as you can see, that balloon now that is down in the lower altitude is perfectly stable.
Yes.
But it got down there in a hurry. A regular round balloon could not have done that, certainly could not have done it as safely as whichever one of the Hartzels that is.
They're very maneuverable balloons. They start and stop on a dime, to put it in automotive terms.
It's like driving a really fine super sports car as opposed to maybe just driving a four-door Chevy.
But I will tell you, the first time I saw one of those things come down at a high rate, that got my attention.
Well, I can remember years ago I flew in the U.S. Nationals out in Anderson, South Carolina, and one of them came screaming past me. I flew just a standard round 77,000 cubic foot balloon, and one of them came just zipping past me, and I was actually scared that it was going to go into the ground. I didn't think they were going to round the balloon out quickly enough, but the pilot obviously did an expert job of it. But they will go up and down very, very, and we're talking, in my balloon, I think, we call it the terminal velocity descent, when you get the balloon falling as fast as it will possibly fall to where it cannot go any faster. That is its terminal velocity. And in my round balloon, it was maybe about 900 to 1,000 feet per minute. These racing balloons can come down 1,500, 1,600 feet per minute. And believe me, folks, that's an e-ticket ride.
Yes, it is.
That is coming down in a hurry. Or they can go up equally fast in some cases.
We have more Hartzels coming down in a hurry.
Yes, we do. And I think that's the trend we're going to see, is these balloons going high overhead. Now, what will be interesting to see is up high where Hartzels, they have just dropped from, Jeff Bennett and Dale Long are up there. One of them, Dale, in the racing balloon, Jeff Bennett in the round balloon that look identical. And it'll be curious to see if Jeff tries to make the same type of descent. And if it does, we should get an excellent look at the difference in how the wind impacts a round balloon in a rapid descent versus, or a terminal velocity descent, versus how the racing balloons react under similar circumstances.
The last year I flew competition at Fiesta, which was some time ago now.
In fact, I'm sorry, Kim.
Yeah.
Now I just looked up, and Jeff Bennett is coming down.
Yeah, there he comes. Yeah.
In his balloon. Now this is the round balloon. Now we'll see. He probably will not be able to fall as quickly as was the Hartzels in the racing balloon, but if he does, the balloon will definitely start to deform. As it's not, I'm taking a look and guessing as I'm watching this. Well, there it goes.
A little bit.
A little bit of dishing on one side. But so Jeff's on his way down, and I think we'll probably see Dale Long, who's now moving into the same area up high, probably start his descent too. I'm sorry, go ahead. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
That area right there seems to be where everybody thinks you need to be.
Yeah, and these guys all go to school on each other, and if this works, if the Hartzels come in and get to a good score, then everybody behind them is watching them, and they'll be going to almost that exact spot before they begin their descent. It begins to be like watching a parade. Everybody goes by and comes down to the same thing.
Okay, now he's coming down really quite quickly.
Now Jeff's a little more deformed.
Now there's a couple of guys. I see Hearts of Fire over there off to the right, dropping down sooner. And so I think some people may be looking at this and thinking there might be some advantage to getting down to the deck a little bit further east. And
there are even some balloons over against the mountains to the east that I think may be thinking they can come in at low level, kind of low and slow approach
east
from
to west.
Further east to west.
Yeah.
So a lot of different strategies will play out in the course of this competition this morning.
Yeah, what I was gonna start to say is the last time I flew competition, I was flying an older balloon that had a different type of venting and deflation system than is manufactured now, and that had a vent, which is what you use to release heat out of the balloon. Instead of being at the top of the balloon like it is on just about everything that's flown now, it was in the side. It was at the equator.
Oh, the old side vent.
And dumped heat much more slowly. And it was interesting trying to maneuver into a target with that thing because it just reacted so much more slowly than what the competition was flying. So you get a little envious watching some of this. We do still have balloons coming in from the mass ascension earlier this morning, coming back in and landing on the field too, which kind of adds a little degree of difficulty maybe for some of these competition pilots coming in, because these balloons are a standard balloon's about 60 to 70 feet tall. A balloon like Bimbo is taller than that. And so there is a little bit of an obstacle actually standing there coming into the field that they have to watch out for as they start their approach into the target. Now, we do have a balloon over the target area now, coming in looks like maybe into the double drop area.
This would be, are you looking at the red, white,
the red, orange, and yeah.
Oh, I see the one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm looking at several. I was also trying to get the feedback up on my iPhone here.
Oh, I see.
And so
it looks like we did have an approach there, probably the first one. And as Glenn mentioned, now everybody else is going to go to school on that and try to figure out what is the best way to get to where they want to get to.
Well, as you say, we do have some of the shapes still in the air that are kind of. I don't want to say they're in the way, but they certainly are something you'll have to navigate around there to the north end. I see I see that balloon you were talking about. I don't see any markers in the target zone. Let me just double check that. No, not yet.
I didn't see a drop, but I didn't see him right away either. So.
Oh, and actually, well, okay, I stand corrected because there are two targets on the field. There are two exact targets with the triangles. As I look around now, I see there's one on the west side and there is one in the center section as well. I didn't see that before. So that that orange balloon you were talking about with the red and yellow accents in it was probably dropping or trying to on the target on the west side of the field. This one over the center of the field, the red balloon with the black and white bands, the white band in the center of the black and silver accents, is up over the main target area, I think. So we'll watch that. While we do that, we'll go down to Ruth, who has another guest on the field.
Looks like she has a friend of mine down there, as a matter of fact.
I do. I have Barb Curry here with me this morning. Barb is one of the people, along with Blair, who take care of us all in the hospitality area. And she has seen some pretty incredible sights in there over the years. Who are some of the fun people that you can remember?
Everybody's fun. We have the best crowd. Look at them all.
And who is it? A lot of times you guys are in costume. Who thinks up those costumes? I bet it's you.
Me.
Yeah. How did I know that? When's your next costume day this year?
Well, we're doing T-shirts now, so
maybe not so much the costumes right now.
Yeah.
No more Dorothy and Toto?
Dorothy and Toto. Mostly Dorothy. Blair's Dorothy.
Blair's Dorothy. Dorothy's going to be coming back. Now, you just told me that you have had 1,000 people come through there this morning?
Wow. 1,200 so far.
Wow, is that a normal number to come through here on a weekday?
On a weekday, yes. Today is Kids' Day. Kids are out of school, and it's perfect balloon weather, right?
It totally is. How long have you been volunteering over there?
Just 20 years.
Just 20 years. Well, we appreciate you, Barb. In the morning when we get here and it's dark and we're still a little bit grumpy, you always put a smile on our face. Thank you so much.
Love it.
Back upstairs, guys.
And that balloon that came in that we were talking about on the target, I believe, is Sam Wiley from San Marcos, Texas, flying Wiley Coyote. That's a cool name. And, and I think we have a second approach happening here.
And in our part of Texas, we'd call it Wiley Coyote. But, yeah, the word is sometimes pronounced coyote.
Coyote.
Because I had a balloon once named Coyote Moon. I called it Coyote Moon, but other people would call it Coyote Moon. I'm not sure that it makes a difference. That's actually pilot in banner number 404, but I haven't figured out how to look up our banner list.
I think you can maybe put 404 in there.
Well, why don't you give that a whirl? I'm watching to see. I don't see any markers ready. And
no records found. Okay.
So I guess they're probably, looks like they're well beyond the target. But anyway, banner number 404.
And it is one of our international competitors.
It is.
Well,
I think that's the Belgian flag that they're flying there. And looks like he's probably actually working his way to land over on the west side of the field, outside of the scoring area. So yeah, the competition is going to be very slow this morning. The problem for the pilots will be, there is a time limit on the competition, and so it may become a challenge to get to the field and get a marker on the ground in time. Not that we're in any danger of that at the moment, because it's only 8:46. And what did I say? Pilot competition was going to go to open at 8:20 and go to 9:50, I think it was.
Yes, that's correct.
So we've got about an hour still. But you can see the sky now to the east and above Balloon Fiesta Park, above all the special shapes. You see all the balloons hanging in the air. These are our competitive balloons now. I can see Dr. Bill Bussey out there in his balloon. Bill is from Longview, Texas, founder of the Great Texas Balloon Race. Maury Petrin is out there. Maury is our defending champion, and I haven't looked at recent scoring. We know that he scored very well. He was one of 2 pilots to get a marker
on the boat
in the Sid Cutter Memorial Task, and so we know that he's certainly well up in the competition rankings so far. See Richard Sabin from Texas out there in his balloon as well, so several of the competitors are working their way here.
Yeah, some of these guys that came down early wound up too far west because the wind over the field has kind of changed, and you're seeing more of a track that's coming kind of out of the east. So
well, and directly over the field, the air gas balloon beginning to drop in. Air gas, of course, providers of providers of the propane that we burn here.
Which is important.
Yes, we kind of need that. And if they can get down, they're in a round balloon. But there, and I see the marker hanging over. Okay,
shot.
I'm going to watch the air gas balloon. He's right in the center of the field, kind of a vertical rainbow chevron, the red marker hanging over the edge of the basket. And so they're getting ready to make a drop. Let's see what happens.
Coming in very slowly.
There he goes. The marker's down. And he's in one triangle. I'm going to watch keep an eye on the basket. I'm using these great binoculars from Canon, our presenting sponsor, that have the image stabilization feature in them. And I'm going to watch and see if they're getting a second marker ready, because now the pilot has to maneuver to get a marker into the second triangle. And he's in the northernmost triangle, or no, let's see. Yep, he's in the northernmost triangle, so he's got to try to move the balloon just a little bit and get a little south. And so you see he's climbing to try and get just enough movement to get across the X, basically, get to a point where they can get a marker down into the other triangle.
One of the reasons we have the target as a clear area is it allows the pilots a little bit more maneuverability down to ground level without, and have it be a safe operation. So you'll see that sometimes. You'll see the pilots come in, they'll go low, they don't like what they're getting low, and so they'll go back up and then they'll drop back down, and so they're able to maneuver pretty freely there. They can't hit the ground, however. If you hit the ground, that counts against you. We are seeing a shot from the drone again, which is really cool. And from that drone shot, you can kind of see that arrow down there that is part of the double drop. And it looks to me, I'm trying to look at the monitor to see what this is, but you can kind of see one of the arrows there, and it looks to me like maybe there's two sets of targets there that you can see.
Yeah, what there is there's an X, and then there's a triangle on either side of the X, or an arrowhead, if you want to call it that, where the tips of the triangle fit right into the center of the X. And I think air gas, I do see the two red markers in the center target, and one in each of the two triangles. So it appears they did get both markers down in a fairly decent score.
Yeah, some of these guys have gotten it figured out now, and they're kind of descending into the field out towards where those poles are. So we'll see if anybody can kind of maneuver through these very light and variable winds over the field to sneak up on one of those poles.
Yeah, we can see the poles. I can see them clearly with my binoculars, but it's a little difficult to keep binoculars in your eyes and watch the balloons and the poles and the targets and talk about it all at the same time. I try to be ambidextrous and multi-talented, as it were, but
you are.
There's a lot to look at. I see Paul Petrin in the Phillips 66 balloon beginning to drop down into the park now. There is the City and County of Denver flag balloon we misidentified yesterday, that black balloon. Actually, it's red on the bottom, the white chevron zigzag with the blue and the yellow sun right at the top.
And that is John Schmitz flying that balloon.
Yes, it is. And
his wife is Marnie Davis Schmitz, who is John Davis's daughter. Is
watching this racing balloon now that is green, black, and yellow with the red crosses and the black centers, and they're coming right in toward the center target. So I'm going to try and keep an eye on that basket and see.
One of those racers.
There's that's a great drop. Got the first marker down right into the corner of the triangle, or the tip of the triangle. And the same on the second. Outstanding job.
Hey, that was pretty cool.
That was awesome. Now if I only knew who the pilot was.
Well, we're working on that.
Okay. You keep looking at that. But yeah, he did it exactly the way you should. He's got a marker down right in the tip of both triangles. Really, really nice job. And I see Paul Petrin in the Phillips 66 balloon got down, but he's a little to the west of the targets, as is, there's Jonathan Wright in his racer that's blue, kind of a sky blue or a French blue with a royal blue and red pattern through it with some yellow lightning slashes through it. There's, as we said again, the City of Denver balloon, also a little wide of the target scoring area, but I'm also watching the poles.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different options here. So if you miss one, you can kind of sneak around and go for the other.
Yeah, Sherry Edwards-White coming in now in the Touchstone Energy Cooperative Balloon, white with the primary colors around the top and bottom of the balloon.
And she, of course, is a very high, she's the women's national champion, current, I believe, women's national champion, and also very highly ranked in the world.
And she's a gas pilot,
also
accomplished gas pilot. She's the current president of the Balloon Federation of America. Just to her right, our left, is Dr. Bill Bussey in his balloon that's black forest green with the blue, those French blue sort of diamonds in the center. Bill has his marker. He's a little wide of the target. Now he's going to wind the marker up.
Okay, we got, what do we got going here? He's this side of the pole. From where I was looking, it looked like he was coming right to the pole, but not. But some of these balloons that are a little bit further north might have a little bit of a shot here.
There went Bill's marker. He got the first one into the target, the north triangle. There's a balloon. That first racer's kind of getting in my way now. Watching Bill wind up his next one.
We have a little traffic jam going on over the target right now. Everybody's coming in.
Bill is still winding up. There goes the second one. Oh, I think he's just out.
Oh.
He might. It's really hard to tell. He might be right on the fabric, but I believe Bill's just out with his second
And if you're out, it doesn't
marker.
count, right?
And if you're out, it doesn't count. So it's a minimum distance double drop. So you've got to get both markers in the scoring area. If you only get one in, then you get no score. It doesn't count. What's going to happen now, and our vision is going to get really blocked, as you were saying, Kim, we're going to have a traffic jam. This first racing balloon, the guy that did score really well, and I'm sorry I haven't been able to identify him yet.
We're working on it.
We might get a banner number when he brings the balloon in, but they are going to come down now. You see the launch director literally walking along the basket. And so they're going to come down here and launch. Now, they will be instructed, I trust, that as soon as they touch down, to go ahead and deflate rapidly, get the balloons deflated and out of the way.
Yeah, they're
but it's going to block our viewpoint, is my point.
And he will try to bring him as close to this end of the field as possible to leave room for other people to come in behind him.
But we're going to have a lot of balloons landing now that the wind along the surface is generally moving north to south. There's a great shot from the drone right alongside
that's
the
Paul
Phillips 66
there.
balloon. Yeah. And our monitors, Gary, just so you know, are getting harder to see now because of the sunlight. But yeah,
boy,
so now
what a
you
shot.
see what a great shot that was. Now you see the racer that's landed directly in front of us, and that's going to start happening. And so our viewpoint is going to be, our vision literally is going to be blocked a bit. There's the City of Denver balloon again. He's coming in, I think, going to land here on this end of the field. Trying to check out anybody near the poles as well at the moment. I don't see anybody threatening to grab a pole. And we have all the shapes over on the east side. Sherry Edwards-White coming in to land now right in front of us.
Now that was pretty close to the pole, but no cigar, as they say.
Yeah. But between balloons landing and everything else that's going on,
and they're just, like I said, you see launch directors down there on the field trying to get to these balloons as quickly as they can so we can get them down and make room for more people to come land. I think you may also see, I don't know if there's any steerage back to the east, so I don't know if we're going to see multiple passes today or not.
I was thinking about that a few minutes ago. You were talking about people who had missed early on, and I'm like you. I'm not sure.
I don't think it's there.
That they, if they do miss, that they can get back over here. I see the Dos Equis balloon out on the far west side of the field. Jonathan Wright now is climbing in his racer. He was down low. I don't know if he scored or if he's going to try to climb and get a second pass, but I'm not sure that the wind is there to allow for second passes this morning. Here comes Maury Petrin in to land. He's already come through the scoring area, but again, now our vision being blocked by the balloons landing in front of us, which is a bit of an inconvenience for us, unfortunately. The spectators, of course, are still having a great show, but we clearly now just don't have any view of the targets for the balloons that are standing in front of us. Dr. Bill Bussey landing here now. Maury Petrin again in this white multicolored, I hate saying multicolored, the white balloon with the southwestern colors, the pinks, the blues, purples, oranges, and reds.
One way we will be able to tell if somebody actually gets one of those poles Is you will hear
You'll
a
hear
big
the crowd,
holler coming
yeah.
up from the crowd.
Yeah, we'll hear a roar, and we might get a shot of it. We do have cameras around.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
now there's a road.
yeah,
there's a guy
good
with
view.
a ring trying to ring one of these poles. Thinking about it. Thinking about it. Thinking about it. Let's see. Okay, he's going to try to toss it. Nope, not quite.
Not quite, but tried. So apparently it's ring the pole for $2,000 this morning. Each of the poles.
Yeah. Those rings are not very big, by the way.
No, they're
maybe
only about
maybe about a foot
maybe
across.
12 inches across.
Yeah.
I was going to say, yeah, about that. So I'm going to check out some of the scoring.
Yeah.
This.
Some of the challenges we have here too is, remember, in a balloon your visibility upward is not very good.
No.
So these people, as they come into the target, all of these pilots are really having to watch out for each other.
Well, and the balloon
as they
below
drop
always
in.
has the right of way. So if you're in a balloon and there's one down below you, you have to give it clearance. You can't essentially get, come down and, well, you can come down and bump them out of the way, but
though the pilots have been instructed that both balloons are responsible for avoiding collisions.
That's
so.
true, but traditionally the lower balloon has right of way.
Yeah, because the person in the lower balloon can't really see straight overhead.
Right. If you're in your balloon and there's one below you and that balloon begins to climb, it's your responsibility to climb as well and give them room to come up, get out of their way essentially. Now, some of the balloons do actually have little windows up in the tops of the balloons, a special fabric that is installed in them. One of my balloons did years ago.
Yeah, they're called Blount windows.
They are, after Alan Blount. And that gives you some visibility. And some balloons now, using modern technology, you can actually mount a GoPro camera up on the crown ring of the balloon, and then it will send a signal, a picture down to an iPad or a tablet in the basket. And some pilots are using a rig like that to give you give them some upward visibility, especially when they're flying in heavy competition traffic like this. I see Steve Jones out there in his balloon that's bright yellow on the top with the orange graduated checkered patterns on the bottom. Steve is a past national champion, has represented the U.S. in world competition, and he's maneuvering his way. Well, actually, he's a little wide of the target, so I think he's coming in probably now just maneuvering to land.
Yeah, this is an interesting morning for maneuverability, and as it so often does here, the wind is changing quite a bit on the ground. You actually can see balloons.
There's a great shot on the monitor where you can see for a moment how the balloons sometimes just line up one behind the other. It's like, for the spectators, it's like watching, there's the shot. You can see It's like watching a parade of floats go by. There's just one after another, after another, after another.
It really is gorgeous to watch. For the spectators that are over, our Fiesta guests that are over on the east side of the field, they're getting a terrific show over there.
Yeah, and I can't see the west target at all. We now have the gear that we need to capture the skydivers jump this afternoon, but that's directly in our view of the western target, so I'm just going to have to ignore that for now. And then the center target is, again, a bit obscured because of all the balloons that are landing in front of us. So we can't do a whole lot of play-by-play action for you this morning.
But it's great to watch, isn't it?
It's great fun to watch, yeah. So I don't mean to be, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just...
One of the balloons dropping in on the north end of the field right now is the Civil Air Patrol balloon, which is, again, a local balloon here from Albuquerque. A couple of people fly that. Will Fitzpatrick is one of the pilots. Also, there's a couple of other people that fly that. So, and we don't always know which pilot's in the balloon, but it looks like they're coming in just on the east side, and I think that's going to give them a lot of options as far as what they try to go for as they come in over the target area.
Well, and it's interesting to look now. If you see that balloon that's kind of sky blue with the darker blue, pink, and white accents in it, the one that's on camera.
Coming back from west to east.
It's actually now moving west to east across the field. So there's a little bit of a shift in direction right on the surface.
Light and variable, did you say?
Yeah, and so some of those balloons that did find themselves a little too far over to the west may now
have another shot.
They may suddenly see conditions opening up so that they're in just the right spot at the right time to work their way back into the field.
Yeah, I see one of the Hartzels lurking up there.
Yep, see, there he is going left to right on the monitors. That's west to east in terms of geography, and surely what he's going to do is go over there and land once he's just beyond the crowd line. But that's an indication there is a little bit of a turn that's shifted now right on the deck, and no doubt some observant pilot will see that and use it to their advantage.
If you are flying into the target, though, and you're lined up and you think you've got it, and all of a sudden that shifts, that is the most frustrating thing ever.
Oh, I hate that, and it's happened.
It happens all the time.
Yeah, if you've flown competition, and there are other times when you're flying along and you thought, man, I've blown it, I've missed it. And all of a sudden your balloon just turns to the left and goes straight to the target, and it's like, oh, wow, thank you.
Yeah, with me, for some reason with me, it was always the other way around.
Well, I remember one year flying down in Natchez, Mississippi, and one of my crew guys had passed away, unfortunately, from a heart attack not too long prior to that. And as we were flying to the target, I couldn't help but think that his name was Glen as well. I couldn't help but think that Glen was giving me a push to the target because the wind shifted and took me straight to it. So sometimes it works in your favor and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, somebody up there likes you. Over the top of this blue, that's Judy Nakamura.
Well, and on screen now, is that Zarek Wells there? I think it is.
Yeah, it might be.
With
the
his
mustache.
Balloon Guilty, the balloon with the mustache. All I can see is the yellow skirt on the balloon.
Well,
no, that's a skirt.
No, that's a skirt.
And Zarek has a scoop on his balloon, so that's not Zarek.
That's not
Zarek. It was for just a moment there. And now we've got more balloons lining up in front of us, so our view again of the target area is just completely obscured.
that is Justice Judy coming down over the north end of the field.
And there you see what our view looks like. You see all these balloons on the monitor. That's the balloons that we can see, and as you can see, the target is behind them. So again, our apologies that we're not doing a better job of describing the competition to you, those of you watching online, but we just can't see it. So
I do see Zarek there on the monitor now, and he's lined up coming in.
Yep, and that's the Krispy Kreme balloon just behind him, the one with the two-tone orange and then yellow stripes or yellow band around the center. And the Civil Air Patrol balloon is out in that group too. I can see them. There's a nice shot of them.
Well, maybe can see who's flying that. Except that the passengers are between us and the pilot. In that shot.
Yeah.
so nice try.
And you can see the pole out there. One of the 5 poles. The pilots are trying for. The targets are trying for. The pilots. Are trying for.
Now, these folks that are coming into land are deflating very quickly. They are trying to help us out.
They're doing everything they can. Yeah, I'm not being negative or complaining. I'm just trying to make sure people understand why we aren't doing a better job of describing the competition, because it is just because our vision is blocked, we just simply can't see it. So we're kind of relying on our production team and a great team that we have to give us these monitor shots. From cameras, they have viewpoints where they can see things we can't. Let's see
what we got coming into the pole here, because we're looking at the monitor here. We have several people that are approaching fairly close to some of these poles. That's a little low, though, to be going for the top of the pole. That looks like that might be
actually
a pass
the guy
on
that looks like he's going to a pole is Zarek. It's again, perspective is a little difficult. Oops, and now that blue balloon just raised up right in front of me, and
Zarek's going back up now.
Yeah, but he's got a good line coming across the pole. In the center of the field there is my next-door neighbor and good friend Pat Harwell and his balloon Maverick, the royal blue balloon with the Mardi Gras spiral of green, gold, green, and purple.
Yes.
He's right in the center of that bunch. There's that red racer looked like he was near a pole, but I think he's beyond it. Zarek looks like he might be getting right at a pole. I'm going to watch this and see.
Yeah, there's 2 yellow balloons out there, and Zarek is the one on the left, I believe.
He is. You're right. He is.
He's
I'm
probably
sorry.
Obscured from you.
Yeah, he is. I think that might be it's banner 2, number 19. That is Steve. Oh goodness, I know that balloon. The balloon's called Limoncello. Steve Wilkinson. I think that might be Steve from California. And for a moment he was going right, and that wind just changed. I was literally watching him moving directly toward the pole, and now he's actually moving more to the south end of the field. So the wind kind of shifted, moving him from west to east to now moving more to the north. So he's not going to get the pole. Now just beside him, that red balloon, they're too low, and I think they're out in front of the pole. Yeah, they're actually in front of the pole, so not a threat there just yet.
Yeah, we are seeing on the monitor some of the shots of the balloons up on the north end that are still north of the poles coming in.
That yellow balloon we were talking about, Steve Wilkinson's limoncello balloon, that is, they're flying a banner for Pandora at the Coronado Center. And Pandora does have an exhibit, a booth here on the field where you can go and buy the limited edition and other Pandora charms if the ladies in your family are into those Pandora bracelets. I'm watching both the Civil Air Patrol balloon and Pat Harwell now.
Whoops. One of the great places to shop at Coronado Center, by the way. One of our many, many year sponsors here for Fiesta. Touching the ground, by the way, is something you're not supposed to do.
No. That gets you penalty points usually.
Yes, it does. But sometimes it happens.
Yeah, it happened to me years ago. I very famously, I won a pole grab one morning at an event down in Natchez, Mississippi, or actually it was in Baton Rouge. Or no, was it? I forget now. Yeah, Baton Rouge.
It was, you got a pole and you can't remember?
I got a pole, the only pole I ever got in my flying career. And then the next day I'm coming in and I'm going to nail the target again. I mean, I'm really going to score well. And it's one of those moments that I'm descending into the target rapidly. It's one of those moments when you go, uh-oh. And I just pile drived it right straight into the ground, right in the scoring area.
As you watch these pilots throw these markers, by the way, it is almost a whole different discipline. There is flying to the target and getting the balloon to the target,
yes.
and then there is getting the marker out of the basket
and
into the middle of the target. And some of these folks that are really good at it will actually sit there and practice throwing baggies onto targets.
A lot of the top competitors will get up on a rooftop like we are, and they'll spend hours throwing just constantly over and over and over and over again, throwing markers at a target to get used to that and to get a real good perspective on how much strength does it take, how hard do you have to throw to cover this distance or that distance. It is an entire art. You're absolutely right. Just flying, just getting your balloon to the target isn't good enough unless you're just really right on the deck and you can just reach over and drop it on the target.
Yeah, now I was pretty good at getting the balloon there. Getting the marker out of the basket onto the target was another story.
Well, I was never really very good at either. I was better at getting eventually I got fairly decent at getting to the target. But yeah, my throwing was always, I didn't even throw as good as a girl most of the time. It was really rather embarrassing.
Oh, I didn't throw as good as a girl either. Or a guy, for that matter.
Yeah, and I'm sure there'll be comments on Facebook. Don't diss the girl pilots. I'm not dissing them at all. There are some excellent lady pilots.
Outstanding
far more qualified and better pilots than I am. And better at throwing markers, too. But
yeah, one of the balloons that's coming in is one of the Bayer balloons, and I can't tell for sure whether it's Ray or David.
Yeah, I see. Let me see if I can get an eyeball on it. And
they're almost identical. And whatever the secret is to telling them apart, I have not yet mastered.
That's Ray Bayer.
That's Ray.
That is Ray.
Ray.
Using my Canon binoculars, I can tell you that.
Yeah, former president of Fiesta.
Former president of the Balloon Federation of America,
too.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, and a longtime member of the board. He is still, I believe, a flight.
He's a flight examiner,
isn't he?
Flight
examiner, yes. Yeah, certified examiner who signs people off for their licenses.
And I've been trying to watch my good friend Pat Harwell as he came across the target, but there were balloons in the way. He was right behind another balloon all the way, so I have no idea if he scored well or not.
Well, the results are posted on the Balloon Fiesta's Facebook
scoring
that's
true.
Page every
we'll
day.
be able to see later if he scored. I was just trying to watch.
So people that are curious about that, they're usually posted towards the latter part of the afternoon. It does take them a little while to score.
Well, and I can see Pat in the basket, and his grandson, Duncan Hernandez, lives here in Albuquerque. He's a new pilot, relatively new pilot, and he's flying his second pilot, and he's actually flying the balloon into land here. Duncan has been learning to fly here in Albuquerque and doing a great job, and so he's the second pilot on the balloon, and so he's actually doing the flying as they come into land. They're just crossing into that area. A lot of crew people standing right there.
Yeah, we don't
grab the balloon.
We don't talk much about additional pilots, but a number of balloons have 2 or 3 or even 4 people registered that share the flying duties.
Right.
And second pilots don't get a whole lot of recognition, but they are really a very important part of flying for a lot of people here at Fiesta. as far as helping the pilot in the air kind of navigate and know what's going on the ground, and also
Exactly.
And also that way you don't have one person flying all 9 days.
Well, and it's also like in this case where Pat and Duncan are both in the balloon together, it's a great opportunity for Duncan to get some experience flying here at Balloon Fiesta, and yet with the direction and under the supervision of a much more experienced balloonist, in the case of Pat, who's his grandfather, who helped to teach him to fly. And so, yeah, it's a great learning experience for pilots, in some cases second pilots, in this case a young second pilot.
We have balloons still coming in. One of the things that happens a lot of times when you're doing competition, you have to launch a mile away in any direction. And so sometimes what you tend to do as a pilot is you get out there and you find a launch site that you think is going to be the right launch site, and then you look around and, the wind changed. Well, gee, maybe I better move my launch site. And so you move 3 or 4 times. And there are some advantages, I always thought, to coming in later. So you could really watch what was happening to everybody else, and then try to go to school on everybody else. Well, so some of these folks are doing that now.
Yeah, there's kind of a couple of schools of thought on that. One school is that it's based when you get the weather information in pilot briefing, typically the earlier you can get up and get to the target, the better, because your weather briefing information will be more accurate. The later you go in the morning or in the flight window, the more the winds tend to shift and change. And so if you're one of the later guys getting up, while you can go to school on the other balloons, things tend to change more. I always like to be about in the middle third. I like to have some balloons in front of me that I could go to school on and watch what they were doing and how the wind was changing their trajectory, and yet be fairly early in the flock, if you will, of balloons. So a lot of different schools have thought that way, but most of the top competitors are the ones you'll find. They like to get up early, be as in the air as quickly as they can, and to the target as early as they can.
I think Ruth has a guest down there, right, Ruth?
I sure do. I'm here with John Senna. He's the past president of the Fiesta Board of Directors.
Hello, John.
Hi, John.
Good morning.
And John is also the founder of the Taos Mountain Balloon Rally. John, tell us about how that rally, aside from fewer balloons, is different from Fiesta.
In 1981, I was transferred by my employer, Western Bank, to Taos, and a bunch of people from the local Chamber of Commerce came up to me and said, "We understand you're a balloonist." And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Here's $5,000 in seed money. We want you to have a balloon race up here in Taos." And I thought, okay. So we started. We had, I think, 14 balloons the first year. And the second year, we had over 100 requests to come. So we had to do this in the form of an invitational. And we did that for the following 24 years. And I used to have a week's time off from Fiesta to get up there and finish whatever needed to be done for the rally. And we did that for many years and had a great time doing it.
That sounds amazing. What's it like flying up there in the mountains as opposed to down here where we have all this room?
You are very conscious of what happens. Thermals come a lot quicker than they do down here. And also you've got to be very careful where you land, because it is also adjacent to a reservation. And in Taos you have two things. One is the ancient buildings, which you've seen thousands of pictures of, and also a buffalo herd, which is sacred ground. You land there, look out.
Yes, and the other thing about Taos that I always loved about Taos is that's where the founder of modern hot air ballooning lived for the last many, many years of his life. Ed Yost lived up there in Taos, and that was one of my favorite things to do, was go visit Ed.
Ed joined us, I guess, 3 or 4 different times, and it was just a delight to have him with us. He, among other things, he was a gentleman, and we had a great time with him, and he attended some of our concerts there, and that was something else that we did. We used to have a country and western dance, and we had Michael Martin Murphy, and we had the Bellamy Brothers, and just to name a couple. But we used to have a great time doing that. I mean, it was always held at this great big hotel that had the room for it, and we we had a grand time doing it.
We all have a grand time here at Fiesta as well. John, thank you so much for joining us. And back upstairs.
Thanks, Ruth, and thank you, John. And John is also a gentleman himself, and I hope you don't mind my saying this, John, also a fellow whiskey drinker. He and I compare notes on single malts now and again.
Yeah.
And he mentioned Michael Martin Murphey. A quick story, having Michael Martin Murphey perform there. Michael's mother was very involved in a pioneering museum in Plano, Texas, when I used to call Plano home, and he did an annual concert there, and we were able to go and enjoy Michael Martin Murphey's music. A big fan of his.
Well, I flew over his house one year at the Taos rally.
Over Michael's house?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great rally. It's a great little balloon rally, and a couple of weeks after Fiesta. And I've had the pleasure of flying in Taos many times, and it's a wonderful place to fly.
Now that most of the balloons are out of the sky, I've got a great view of the target zone again, and Bill Broker is, I just heard a cheer go up, and I'm not sure if that was for somebody landing or did anybody get a pole? I didn't see it.
It was kind of coming from behind us,
I think, yeah. So. But I see Bill Broker in the City of Plano, Texas balloon.
Yeah, he's sneaking up on something there.
He's working his way in toward the scoring area. Plano, of course, also hosts its own very fine balloon event, usually the third weekend of September, the In Touch Credit Union Plano Balloon Festival. Next year, we've been talking a little bit about how we're just a few years away from the 50th Balloon Fiesta. Well, next year will be the 40th Plano Balloon Festival, so we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, it was a little wet this year, unfortunately,
yeah,
for
we
the
had
folks in Plano.
Yeah, the event got rained out, sadly, this year with some very torrential rain over 3 or 4 days there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. All right, Billy's got his marker winding up. Well, he wound up and threw it, I guess.
Did you hear what I said about this woman, Gary?
I see, yeah, he got his first one down.
150, she got the ring.
Let's see, and we still have several people coming in behind Bill there.
Yes.
So pilot number 150 did get a ring over the pole. That's what we're being told. Thank you, Gary, for that.
Thank you.
And Billy Broker, he just threw his second marker, but I didn't have enough of a view to see if it scored well or not, but I think it probably did.
Yeah, we do have a shot of that 150 on the screen. No,
sounds like somebody just missed the pole.
Somebody came really close, yeah.
You can hear, it's kind of like we were going through the kids' bag earlier today. Ooh, ah, oh.
Balloon sponsored by the Weather Channel. Of course, those folks have been very busy in the last couple of days.
Yeah, and their staff.
We are thinking of our friends in Florida.
Well, not only Florida, but the Hurricane Michael went straight through Florida into Georgia. And is going to continue to track right through the Carolinas. Again, that area already hard hit by a hurricane this season. So, yeah, we're definitely thinking about all of our friends there. And there are a lot of balloonists from that region of the country that are here this week. And I'm certainly they're concerned about what's happening back at their homes.
Okay, well, we have this particular balloon is maneuvering up and down, I think maybe trying to get to one of the poles here. See what they can ring.
Which balloon are you looking at?
The Weather Channel one.
Oh, the Weather Channel? Okay.
I think maybe he's past the pole now.
Yeah, I believe he's past the poles. Actually, coming in toward the pole is one of my old balloons. This is Lee Little flying the balloon back there that has the rainbow multicolored. I'm just watching.
Yeah,
I think he just tried the ring but didn't get it. That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, there's only 3 or 4 multicolored balloons out there.
Well, no, I'm sorry. It's the yellow top balloon with the horizontal rainbows on it.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Right out there by the Wyoming Coyote.
I see.
Or the Wyoming Cowboy balloon.
Yeah,
that's what I was trying to say.
May have something going there too.
Yeah. So Ruth has another guest down on the field. Let's go down to Ruth.
Good morning. I have here with me Kip Wills from La Mesa RV. And La Mesa supplies a lot of the RVs that are rented here at the field, and also people bring their own from La Mesa. But Kip was just telling me he's a star. He's a movie star. He had a role on Breaking Bad.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. You know, being a local here and being able to take part in some of the series that come here, it's pretty exciting. But being here with La Mesa, representing them, we've been around since 1972. Same owner. Come out and see us. We're on the west side, exit 149. Come see me, the KIP, live on the MFT from the 505.
Well, there, I think that says it all. Thanks so much, Kip. We'll turn it back over to you guys.
Thanks, Kip. And thank you to La Mesa RV, too. They've been longtime participants, as he said, here at Balloon Fiesta. And We still have a few competitors in the sky. I don't think we're going to need to go to 950 like we were planning, because I think, again, today the pilots are probably going to be done and through the scoring by then. Watching, again, Lee Little in his balloon, my old balloon, and I see a marker hanging over the side.
Okay, he's going to go for the double drop here.
So
yeah, here we go.
There goes marker number 1.
Kaboom.
Oh, that's right on the X, but I think he may be outside of the triangle.
Ooh.
And that red, white, and blue, or actually Billy Broker just flew his balloon right in front of the other marker, just as I was starting to watch it.
Well, he really came back up pretty
well, Lee
pretty
did,
quickly.
yeah. But, and I think the marker fell close to the X, but I think outside of the triangle, and it has to be in the triangle to score. There's the Mission Linen Values balloon going across the field, Mission Linen Supply, rather. The yellow balloon with that starburst on it. Mission has been another of those. Gosh, they've been with Fiesta as long as I can remember.
That guy with the Wyoming balloon wouldn't be from Wyoming, right?
You think?
Couldn't resist, sorry.
I understand. And so all of this flock of balloons, I keep calling them a flock.
Mission Linen Supply, I believe that is Jerry Graff.
That would be Jerry Graff
yeah.
flying that balloon. Yep, you're right. And so Art and I have talked about how yellow is such a predominant color in the sport of ballooning, and there's a good example of it. Even though different shades, you've got the Mission Linen Supply balloon, you've got Lee Little just next to him, and you've got the Wyoming balloon next to him, and all three have yellow as the primary color in their balloons.
Jerry's been around for a long time. I remember flying with him when I was still in my passenger stage, even, which was quite a long time ago.
Yeah.
Of course, Jerry is not all that old, so.
Well, and Lee and I met the first time here. He was an Albuquerque resident and was crewing for my old boss, Tom Hamilton, who was the publisher of Balloon Life
Tom
magazine.
Very well. Remember Tom
and that was
well.
back around my first few years coming out here to Balloon Fiesta, 1989. My first was 84. I came as a spectator from Texas, and then in 89 I was editor of Balloon Life magazine and came out with Tom and his balloon, and Lee was one of his crew. And so those three balloons maneuvering together over into an area where they can land. Out over the field now, one of my favorite balloons that I try to mention whenever I see it is the balloon called Slanja. And that is the tartan balloon, that balloon that is the blue and green with the red and yellow in it. And as I was telling Ruth earlier this week, virtually every state in the United States has its own official tartan, although tartan is typically associated with Scotland. And that balloon is representative of the official state of New Mexico tartan. Slanja is a Gallic word meaning to your health. Typically a word used like cheers or prost, as you would use to l'chaim, to toast, and slàinte to your health is a Gallic toast that is often used in both Scotland and Wales and Ireland.
Yeah, the balloons are so beautiful. There's really no such thing as an ugly balloon. I can count on the fingers of one hand.
I beg to differ. There's one or two that I've seen.
I was going to say I can count on the fingers of one hand, though, the ones you might call ugly.
Yeah.
But they're just so beautiful, and the colors, and just some of these that are coming in now just are so gorgeous.
I can remember when I was marketing director at Thunder and Colt Balloons US several years ago now. Fiesta went through a period of time where they gave away a new balloon to the first, second, and third finishing overall pilots. And at Thunder and Colt, Fiesta came to us and said, okay, we need a balloon. It needs to be minimally this size. And they said, we don't care what it looks like. Whatever extra fabric you have, just build it.
Oh, jeepers.
And we had
I can only imagine.
Oh, we had some ugly sort of flesh brown that we had tons of fabric. And I think we put that with a purple. And that was an ugly balloon. And as I recall, Owen Keown, who was really a top-notch competitor in his day from California, won the balloon. And he said, I could care less what it looks like, because he flew them hard, rode them wet, because he was a top-notch competitor. And he wasn't worried about beauty at all. He was worried about performance. And so I've seen one or two ugly balloons, but most of them are quite gorgeous. And Ruth has got a cavalcade of folks down there joining us this morning.
Is that who I think that is?
That looks like Sherry Edwards' wife.
That's what I was thinking.
All right.
It is Sherry Edwards-White, the president of the Balloon Federation of America, longtime gas pilot who just got back from the Gordon Bennett over in Europe. Are you exhausted?
I am exhausted. I am still jet lagged. We flew back Wednesday in order to be here for a board meeting, and then I started flying Touchstone Energy. So,
that's right. Tell us about the Touchstone Energy program.
Touchstone Energy cooperatives are the rural electric cooperatives all around the country. There's about 750 of them, and we take the balloons to the farmers and do annual meetings and let people go up and down in the balloon.
That's wonderful. And let's shift back to BFA for a minute, the Balloon Federation of America. You're coming into your second term as president. What will your major initiatives be in the coming year?
Well, I think the primary initiative, last year was my first year as president, and I was just kind of learning my ways. This year I feel a lot more comfortable, and I really want to work on our youth. I want to get the youth in the sport. We have BFA youth camps. This year we're running 3 camps, one in Reno, Albuquerque, and up in Pennsylvania. And that's where we have 13 to 17-year-olds come to camp for a week. They learn to fly balloons, and they learn all about meteorology, weather, tethers, propane, and they just really have a good time. And then this year we just started a new group that's the 18 to 30-year-olds called the Aeronauts, and my hope for that group is that they all kind of bind together and WhatsApp each other and have campouts around the country and just really promote the spirit of ballooning, because that's our future, is with the youth.
It definitely is. It's all about bringing the young people up. Sherry, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Congratulations on your good drop today, and enjoy your week.
Thank you.
Yes.
Back up to you.
Sherry is one of the great women pilots in this country. She's a real inspiration.
Is my mic? Now I turn my mic on. She also comes from a great ballooning family. Her father, Sam Edwards, was an early member of the board of directors of the Balloon Federation of America. Actually, one of my very first flight I did in 1976 with Bill Murtaugh in Houston, and Sherry's dad, Sam, and his wife, Jean, they flew that day a brand new Picard balloon that they had just purchased. And Sam and Sherry, or Sam and Jean and Sherry, have been great friends my entire time in the sport of ballooning. And then Sam and they now have, I think it's a 4th generation pilot in the family, because Sam's granddaughter has just learned to fly and just earned her pilot's license. And Sherry, of course, has twins that I can remember when they were born, and now they're both in college. Yeah, I'm starting, like you said earlier, I'm starting to date myself. But
yes,
anyway, we've talked a little bit, Art and I have, through the week about some of the great families in sports, the Petrons, the Hartzels, etc. Well, certainly Sam Edwards and Jean Edwards and their family is, and the Jim.
The Bears are 3 generations.
The Bears, the Thompsons, Jim Thompson and his family. Jim and Connie, there's a lot of great families where ballooning is literally a generational thing, and you have 2 or sometimes 3 and now 4 generations of people flying balloons in the same family.
And even if they're not all flying, mine is a 3-generation family, and my grandson doesn't fly, but he loves to chase.
Sure, yeah.
So
not necessarily, and you don't have to be a pilot to be involved in the sport of ballooning. That's one of the great things about it. It makes it such a social activity, because each pilot typically needs a crew of 3 or 4 people at least to assist. Their role is to help get the balloon off the vehicle and rigged and inflated, and then when the pilot flies away, sometimes it's more difficult, more challenging for the chase team to follow on the ground and literally chase the balloon through the sky so they can be there when the balloon lands, and then help the pilot to pack away the balloon and put it away, get it ready for its next flight. And a lot of people spend years and years and years as members of chase, or in some parts of the world they call them retrieve crews, and never have a desire to learn to fly or own a balloon, but they enjoy taking part in the sport.
And it really is a lot of fun. I enjoy chasing and flying both.
Yeah.
And Sherry touched on something very important here, and that is the kind of the I can't even talk this morning. The generational issue. I got my license 37 years ago, and you know, that when you start being in it for that long, you know, you're kind of starting to get into the twilight of your flying life. Who is coming up to continue the sport and make possible what you're seeing here?
Right.
So there is a lot of emphasis right now on interesting youth, young people, younger adults, teenagers in the sport, and teaching them how magical it really is and can be, especially in an era when a lot of kids are hooked on video games and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
This is such a wonderful sport, and there are a lot of efforts now to underway to try to teach young people what a great and really accessible sport that it is.
Yeah.
Especially in a place like Albuquerque.
Yeah, you know, we've talked a lot about getting youth involved, and I got my license 28 years ago. And so you and I are of the same generation as far as balloonists are concerned. And, you know, and you and I are probably close to the same age. We won't go there, but...
No, we won't.
We grew as kids.
Actually, the paper did, so...
But I remember growing up as a kid and laying down in the grass and looking up at the clouds and seeing the clouds that formed. And when you saw an airplane fly by, that was quite a thing. That was really magical. Well, nowadays, that's commonplace. And like I say, kids are so now wrapped up in instant gratification and video games, and a lot of times they don't seem, at least our perspective as older folks, they don't seem to have the level of imagination and creativity that we once did. And ballooning very much harkens back to, I think, to that kind of time, to the idea that being up in the sky is sort of magical and something that's really, really unique. And so trying to impart that to the younger generation today and help them to explore that and get them involved in our sport is really, really critical to its survival. And we talked about some of the people, Beth Wright-Smith, for example, Roy Caton, who we had an interview with a day or two ago, both receiving their Ed Yost Master Pilot Awards. Well, that's an award that honors pilots for 40 years of successful flying, and we're seeing more and more of those awards being given away, which touches on the question or the issue of the graying of the sport. So really, Sherry is right on that the real emphasis, I think, in aviation in general and certainly in ballooning is getting the next generation, getting the millennials and their kids involved in this sport so that the beauty of this sport and events like Balloon Fiesta can continue for another generation.
And it really is a sport that's accessible, you know, as a female in the sport.
Yes.
The majority of pilots are guys, but it's a sport that can be pursued equally and equally well by men and women. It's it really is a great sport for females.
It is, and Sherry's a great example of that.
And Sherry and Ruth Lind,
Ruth Lind,
you know,
of course, and yourself, and you know, and there's some discussion about that sometimes because the NAA, the National Aeronautic Association, which is the sanctioning body for air sports in the U.S., and the FAI, the international sanctioning body, there are world records. There are world records, and then there are feminine world records, and there is a world championship, and there's a women's world championship, and there are some who will argue that there shouldn't be feminine records and there shouldn't be a women's worlds because ballooning is one of those sports where women can compete equally with the men. There doesn't need to be a reliance on physical strength or capability. Piloting skills are piloting skills regardless of your gender. And yet I think it's great to recognize anyone in the sport however you can. So I don't have a problem with there being separate women's competitions and feminine records. But your point is well taken, that women can compete equally on complete equal firm footing in the sport of ballooning as they're not able to in some other sports.
And it's interesting because at one point there was talk about once the Around the World Challenge had been met in 1999 by Bertrand Piccard and Brian Jones,
right,
that there were no more records to be broken, and yet people still go out and break records all the time. Troy Bradley does, and of course we had 2 Eagles 3 years ago, and I have a couple of female friends that are looking at feminine gas balloon record maybe sometime in the next year.
If you think about it, there has not yet been a woman pilot fly around the world in any kind of balloon, so that's certainly out there.
Yeah, and it would be a great feat to do that.
It would be, and there is actually a new challenge coming up. There's a team in England, a female pilot, and her co-pilot is actually a gentleman who is legally blind, and they are planning an Atlantic crossing to raise money for a foundation, the Blind Veterans Foundation over in the UK. But she's hoping to set some feminine world records in the course of, and they thought that they could claim a world record for being the first woman female pilot across the Atlantic, but the FAI will not allow that because she will have a male crew member on board. It would have to be an all-female crew to qualify for that record, but still an indication of the females, women being involved in this sport, and she will be the pilot in command of that flight across the Pacific. They hope to launch next summer, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, we do. We have not been talking about the target much because there hasn't been any
activity
over the
going
target.
On at the target.
But there are a couple of folks. We have about 12 minutes, by my count, around that.
If I look at my iPhone, that'll give me GPS time.
Close to that still have a shot at coming in.
Yeah,
we
I've
do
got
have
13 minutes, but yeah.
Couple of folks that might still sneak in here at the last minute.
And as we're watching these last few balloons try to come in, it's kind of getting close to time for us to wrap up. We should mention, as we do so, that today we're back on our 2-a-day schedule. In addition to having seen the special shapes fly and stand static on the field as we did today, tonight is the first of our special shapes Rodeo Glowdeos. And that will be where we will have a beautiful balloon glow on the field with only special shapes participating. And of course, prior to and immediately after that is when we will have the team Fast Tracks, the skydiving team. They will be jumping at about 5:45 just prior to the balloon glow, and then they'll be jumping immediately after the balloon glow with a pyrotechnics jump, fireworks in the sky sort of thing, just prior to the afterglow fireworks tonight. And all of that happens this evening, and I think we open up the gates about 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Yeah, Special Shapes Glow, or the Glowdeo as it's called, is one of the Fiesta's most popular events. So I do want to emphasize, if you're thinking about coming out to that, leave early.
Yeah, we saw some comments on the Facebook page this morning of people that were caught or delayed in traffic this morning. And yeah, I can tell you from 29 years of experience, I get up on weekends, I'm up at 0300 and here at the field by 0400 just because I'm scared to death of being caught in traffic and not being able to get here. There's no such thing as leaving too early. And in the afternoons, that is especially true. People will get off work early. People will sneak out of work. I don't want to say that, but they do. And today, of course, as you said, the schools are on break. So we're expecting a really big crowd out tonight. So you definitely want to leave early. And it won't hurt to be in traffic, in line, when the gates open at 4 o'clock.
There's plenty to do on the field.
Absolutely.
There's plenty of great food. There's shopping. There's just sitting around on the grass and enjoying your family.
Getting the family together and coming out and sitting in the sun on a nice day on the grass here or at one of the picnic tables that we have running up and down Main Street. Spend a little quality time with the kids, with your neighbors. Get a block party together and bring a group of folks out. It's a great afternoon out, and the show should be spectacular tonight.
We still have a couple of folks inflated here on the field, which some of the pilots will do that if they're kind of out of the line of fire where other balloons are coming in to deflate. They'll stay standing up so that people can walk over and look in the basket and talk to the pilot and the crew. And a couple of folks have been able to do that.
Special thank you again today to KOB TV, Channel 4.
For Kids Day.
For Kids Day. We have, I don't know how many hundreds of goodie bags they gave out to kids coming in today with all sorts of great things. The bags provided by Phillips 66. There was cereal from General Mills. There were coupons for free kids' meals. There were goodies from Bimbo Bakery. A lot of our sponsors taking part to help supply those goodie bags to the kids. And we hope that all those young folks have enjoyed their day at Balloon Fiesta. And who knows, one of them might be, the next Troy Bradley to set dozens of world records. Might be the next Ben Abruzzo or Maxie Anderson
or Richard Abruzzo
to make flights. Carol Davis to fly around the world. From there's Brad Thiemeyer, our chief meteorologist, just walking past view.
Brad, you get an A today.
Absolutely, Brad. Well done today. About time, I would say.
We don't have a lot of time sometimes to give shout-outs to folks. But I do want to mention a couple of groups. One is our sponsors, without whom we could not do this.
Absolutely.
And also the navigators, the volunteers, all of the people that work on this field in all kinds of capacities. To make this event possible. We couldn't do it without our navigators, and we do want to say thank you. And if you see a navigator on the field, and a lot of them have navigator jackets, of course our launch directors, our zebras are navigators, do take a moment to thank them, because they make all this happen.
Well, and also to so many of the law enforcement agencies. I know the New Mexico State Troopers, obviously Albuquerque Police Department. I'm sure
all of the regional
the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Department, and on and on and on. We see some comments and people complaining about the traffic, but when you think about it, when you think that over the course of the 9 days, we typically average about 850,000 visitors here to this site. And that's on top of the day-to-day commuter traffic of people that live in the city of Albuquerque and have to come and go to their jobs and live their daily lives while we're all out here having this big party. Those guys and gals do an amazing job of not just traffic flow, but of keeping us safe here and watching over us, managing first aid needs, responding to emergencies around the city while this is all happening. And sometimes that's kind of a thankless task. Everybody is quick to complain about traffic, but when you think about it, they do a pretty magnificent job, and we couldn't do this without them as well.
Of course, we have our Park and Ride, which is our bus service in here. And here's another group that never gets mentioned, and that is the bus drivers. The people. What Fiesta does is they contract with the school districts in the area to provide buses, and that's why we don't have bus service on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, because we are transporting kids to and from school.
Right.
But the local school districts, the Albuquerque district and their contractors, the Rio Rancho School District, Los Lunas, Bernalillo, a lot of the surrounding districts, and these drivers work a lot of extra hours to provide this service for our Balloon Fiesta guests and our visitors. And we really do want to thank them for providing all these folks with a safe ride to the park.
Absolutely. And as we bring this morning's flying events to a wrap, and we're about to wrap up here on Balloon Fiesta Live, those of you that are still here in the park, some great things still to do. There's shopping and food and drink all along Main Street, as we've talked about. We have the Balloon Discovery Center down on the north east entry exit to the field, where you can particularly take the youngsters. We have a lot of them here today for Kids Day, and go down and learn a lot about the art and science of ballooning. I would be remiss if I didn't mention again the chainsaw carving competition and exhibits going on down there. That's those 7 tiny little pointy top tents down there on the north end. These guys are amazing at what they do. Some of the sculptures they create. There's contests that go on. There are exhibits. There are raffles where you can buy a ticket and win a prize. Some of the items they create are for sale direct. That is a great feature here at Balloon Fiesta. It doesn't have anything to do with hot air, but it's a great bit of entertainment to go down there and check that out.
I do want to mention the artisan tent too.
I was just going there.
Up on the
artisan
north end,
tent, yes.
And that's there's some beautiful works of art of all types in that artisan tent, where people can go and browse and purchase and
and that's a juried show, and by juried the term means that anyone who wants to be an exhibitor there has to take their artwork before a panel of judges who decide basically, is it quality enough to be in this show or not. So you're not just talking about street corner artwork, you're talking about really fine, high quality material.
Lots of great things for the kids. Down kind of on the south end of the field, there's some activities for young people. So there's a lot to see and do at Balloon Fiesta Park, even after the balloons land or before they take off.
One of the balloons out over the park at the moment, that yellow balloon with the red and blue diamonds in it, is Ken Drawn from the great state of North Carolina. And I'm sure Ken is one of those who has been watching quite anxiously the progress of Hurricane Michael, because he's going to have to travel home to it. Sam Parks, our balloon operations director, just recently moved from North Carolina out here to Albuquerque to take on his role here. But I'm sure he still has family and friends back there, as a lot do, and our thoughts are with all of those folks along the East Coast being impacted by the storm. We wish that you stay safe. And but Ken used to always rag me about, you know, I never mentioned his name, and I said, well, Ken, you got to get close enough to the target for me to talk about you. So Ken's close enough to the target this morning, so I just wanted to give him a quick shout out. We've become great friends over the years.
Yeah, and also coming into the field right now is Steve Coughing from Albuquerque with the, it looks to me like the Isleta banner on the balloon.
They're going to have to hurry because by my watch we're at 9:47 and the competition window, unless they extended it, closes at 9:50, so we're just about 2 or 3 minutes away.
But you know, the field is still a perfectly good place to land.
Well, it is. Yeah, no, I just meant that they were trying to get in and score.
For the scoring, yeah,
but
we're running out of time.
Pilots will be coming in to land. And there'll be usually there is a smoke bomb released out on the field, so we're kind of watching for the smoke, which will be the official sign that competition has ended. But there are still about a dozen balloons as we look around that are in the sky, and most, I think, are in the process of working their way here to Balloon Fiesta Park so that they can get into and land, because it's an easy place for the crew to come in and retrieve them and pack the balloons up. Refuel, and then they're right here and ready to tailgate and party.
We're getting to the part of the morning where the air starts getting a little more unstable. We sometimes get asked why this is so early in the morning, and it's because the air is more stable in the morning. But as the air heats up and it heats up the ground, it starts creating instability, and so the balloonists do try to fly in the first couple of hours of the day. And we are there.
And that's why our evening events are late in the evening, right at twilight, because they are not flying events anymore. Some years ago, you may remember, I know you do, Kim, there was the Special Shapes Rodeo. They actually flew away. We didn't have a Glowdeo, and we actually inflated the Special Shapes, and they flew away late in the afternoons. And then we changed that to a Balloon Glow. But in parts of the country where they do fly in morning and afternoon, again, same thing. Balloons typically will fly the last couple of hours before sunset because, again, that's when the winds typically tend to be calmest. And
they tend to be dropping down, and the air stability is improving.
Exactly.
And afternoon flights really can be a lot. There's not a lot of it done in Albuquerque because of the desert and the stuff of the desert. But
I started ballooning in Texas, and we flew morning and afternoon there. When I moved out to California, I was shocked to learn that in California they only fly in the morning. So a ballooning event was just a flight on Saturday morning and Sunday morning. That was a balloon festival. There was no Saturday night flight. And then as Balloon Glows caught on back in the late 80s and going into the 90s, then obviously the evenings became Balloon Glow evenings. Right, became glows. But I was a little surprised when I first moved to California in 1988 to learn that that balloonists did not fly in the afternoon there, because we flew in the afternoon in Texas all the time.
You see some of it here in Albuquerque in the towards late fall and winter.
I think it must have to do with the temperatures out west and in the desert states where it's so much hotter.
It is hotter
because I know in Texas I've done some events. I can recall flying in an event in Mesquite, Texas one year when it was 102 in the afternoon when we went out to inflate, and the max temperature in your balloons, in many of the balloons, was 250 degrees. So you only had barely a 150 degree difference between the ambient temperature and the maximum you could achieve in your balloon, and that didn't sometimes give you a lot of performance, because the performance of the balloon is based on, in many ways, the difference of the temperature inside the balloon versus the outside temperature. There's the
smoke. We are done with competition for today.
You can put a fork in the competition because we are done. The targets are now closed, and I guess it's about time to put a fork in us. Don't forget, we are back on a 2-a-day schedule. It's been Kids Day, courtesy of KOB TV. Thank you so much for that, and to all the sponsors who took part. It was day one of Special Shapes Rodeo, Glowdeos. Hope that you got to see your favorite special shape today. It was our third day of competition. We'll have one more day of competition coming up tomorrow, and we'll have some exciting things happening then. But now we look forward to the first Shapes Glowdeo tonight. 2 jumps by Team Skytrax. We have fireworks. All of that gets started with the gates opening at 4 o'clock this afternoon. And so it's going to be a great evening. A lot of tailgating will be going on now. Still some time to do some shopping and maybe have I would say a breakfast burrito, but now it's kind of more like a brunch burrito, as it were.
So we're going to actually kind of drift away with the crowd. We still have a lot of people on the field.
Still a nice big crowd, yeah.
A lot of people who are taking advantage of the food and the camaraderie and the post-flight tailgating that goes with ballooning.
We get into the social part of the ballooning now. So thanks to our intrepid crew and to Ruth Lind, our on-field reporter this morning, for all the interviews she brought us. Kim, thank you for joining me here on the tower for people on the feed. And
it's always a pleasure. And Art, we're thinking of you.
Yep, our executive producer, Art Lloyd Jr., just a little under the weather, and we hope that he'll be joining us this evening. And hurry up and get well, Art, and come back and join us. But as hopefully we struggled through and did you proud this morning, hats off to our production crew for the job that they've been doing all week long. Had those great new shots from the drone today that we've never seen before. That's a first for Balloon Fiesta.
Those were cool.
So, tonight, if Art's well, he'll be joining me back on the tower, and Kim, you'll be back down on the field bringing us some interviews from down there.
Actually, I'm supposed to be elsewhere tonight.
Oh, are you? Okay.
But if Art is still under the weather, I will be back
You'll be back with me. So, at any rate, we will have a crew on hand to bring you Balloon Fiesta live. Again, this evening, we'll be on the air later this afternoon. So, on behalf of my partner, Kim Vesley, our reporter, Ruth Lind, and all of our production team, I'm Glen Moyer. This has been Balloon Fiesta Live at the 47th Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you again very soon.
This has been live coverage of the 2018 Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta presented by Canon. Always in October and always in Albuquerque, the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta is the world's premier ballooning event. This program is a production of AIBF Inc., all rights reserved. Thanks for watching Balloon Fiesta Live.